Yes. What's happening, everybody? It is Tuesday night. It is 10 o'clock Central Time. And this upcoming Saturday, we have UFC 298, which is going to be headlined by Alexander Volkanovski versus Elliott Topuria for the undisputed featherweight championship of the world. Can't wait for that fight. The GOAT against the 27-year-old upstart is a phenomenal main event. This pay-per-view card from top to bottom is full of fire fights, really great stuff. The prelims are good too. You know, there's some interesting matchups. There's some debutantes. There's actually some really low-level fights on this very high-level card. So it's going to be an interesting one to break down with you guys today. I'm ready to go, though. I've got notes on these fights. I've watched the tape on almost all of these fighters. And there are some spots sticking out. I do have 3 bets right now that are official and locked in. Actually, I just made a 4th when I was on the Couch Warriors show. And yeah, check out Couch Warriors show that we did earlier today, 2 hours before now. We went live for about an hour and a half and broke down these fights. And I'm ready to do it again. I've got my notes ready. I've got my bets ready. I've got the stats ready. Are you guys ready to break down some fights? I hope you are. Let's first start talking about last week. The breakdown for last week, we made a little bit of money, up 0.65 units. So it's a small winning day, nothing spectacular. The reads were really good. We just didn't get paid off for the good reads this week. The winning bets, 1.5 units on Michael Johnson's money line at minus 130. That cashes for a 1.15 unit win. A 3-unit bet, my biggest bet of the week, was Dan Ige, scorecards equals no action. So it was a finish only prop. He got the finish right away in the first round. So we got that cashed for 1.5 units. Then we had a 1/4 unit on Hader Emil to win in round 3. He won in round 2. So that plus 1,500 for a 1/4 unit was close, but no cigar. I had Jeremiah Wells, a 1/2 unit, to win by decision at plus 260. That fight went to decision. It was a very, very close decision, and my guy did not get the nod. So we lost a 1/2 unit instead of winning 1.3. Good read there at a plus 260. That's a great bet. A fight that went to decision and was a coin flip going into that decision, but the coin flip just didn't go our way. So we lost a 1/2 unit there instead of winning 1.3. And then I had Michael Johnson to win by submission for a 1/4 unit at plus 1,800. Wow. And he had some spots. He had some chances to actually get a submission finish there, but he couldn't pull it off, you know? So the reads were there. We just didn't get paid off for them this week. And then we did have one parlay, which was just miserable. We parlayed Zach Pauga's money line at minus 127 with the fight doesn't go to decision for Flowers versus Johnson. Both of those bets don't cash. So we lose a unit there. You know, up 0.65 units on the day. The greasy 4-leg parlay, only one of the 4 legs cashed, and that was the last leg, which was Dan Ige's money line. But Uncle Weezy's ass shaving of the week shaved some ass. Gregory Hobo Cop Rodriguez with the 3rd round knockout over Brad Tavares. And then the Bootsy Collins Memorial Dogs Are Parking pick of the week, the Bruno Brasil plus 3.5 points handicap, that cashes at plus 115. So a good day. We hit the ass shaving. We hit the dog pick of the week. We had some good reads, up just a little bit of money, and a really bad greasy 4-legger, unfortunately, this week. So I got to get my head out of my ass and get one of these greasy 4-leggers to cash. And hopefully this week is the week that we got it done. But 40 of you guys hanging out live in here with your Uncle Weezy right now, do me a favor. Hit that thumbs up if you haven't already. Hit that subscribe button if you haven't already so that you don't miss out on any of the great content that comes up here on my channel. And please consider leaving me a comment down below and joining the Patreon so you can get access to all the stats that you're going to see on the screen during today's show. What's going on with you guys in the chat, though? We got my guy Taylor Paku in here who came in yesterday, 28 hours before showtime. That's dedication, ladies and gentlemen. And he's saying he'll be waiting patiently. And now today he says only 3 hours left. Let's go. We got TH in the room saying, Weezy, what's up, bro? All good here, man. Just ready to break down some fights with you guys. We got Chief Conalot in the room saying, Chiefs. The Chiefs Spore the Chief got it done. Well done if you had some money on them. We got Victor De Jesus in the room saying, oi, yes, happy Valentine's Day, Woodburn Fight Week. We got Valentine Woodburn fighting on Valentine's Day week. Could be a plus EV spot for the big plus money underdog in Valentine Woodburn. And he's saying, smash the like, gentlemen. My guy Lou Betyen's in the room saying milk was a bad choice. Are you referring to former San Francisco Mayor Harvey Milk? Otherwise, I don't drink milk, actually, really at all. I haven't drank milk since I think I was in high school. The last time that milk was in my mouth, I think, was the last time that happened. Yeah. Milk is a bad choice, in my opinion. We got smashed. Oi, let's go. Oat milk is nice. And ring a ding ding, you guys. My guy Kiwi Brew checking in, saying, sure, happy Valentine's Day from all the boys in Australasia. What is happening, Kiwi? Always good to see you hanging out in here, brother, with the generous $20 donation, keeping the lights on here in his Uncle Weezy's studio. Much love to you, brother. Always good to see you hanging out in here. We got King Bicky saying, be Joe Pyfer, be that guy. What a dud. He didn't get the job done. He won those first 2 rounds, but the power shots weren't landing, and we didn't know what Joe was going to look like late in the fight, and we found out that the veteran in Hermanson was able to kind of survive those first 2 rounds and then win the last 3 to get a decision there. We haven't seen the last of Joe Pyfer. He's only 27 years old. This guy's going to be getting better. He's already shown a pretty high ceiling for his skill set. He's just got to get back to the drawing board and find a win the next time out. We got Daz saying, what's up to Kiwi? We got JP Taylor in the room saying, oi, yes. We got Cuban Assassin in the room saying, what it do, Weezy? I'll be going to the weigh-ins and fights this weekend. I don't know which Brazilian's fight kit to wear, the Mackenzie Dern or the other Brazilian, Ian Gary. Yeah, Ian Gary, if you look on ESPN.com, that dude has a Brazilian flag next to his name. He's not Brazilian. That's a lie. He is from Ireland. You're not supposed to do that if you're from Ireland. Say that you're from Brazil, because you're not. So come on, Ian. You're Irish. Stop bullshitting the rest of us here. We got Gogo Flamingo in the room. Ring a ding ding, you guys. A $20 donation. The Aussies keeping the lights on here in Chicago, Illinois, in their Uncle Weezy's studio. The Aussies doing their part to contribute to the show and give me something for showing up today. So I appreciate both Kiwi and Gogo Flamingo for the generous donations to their Uncle Weezy, saying, I'm just donating so Kiwi knows he's not better than me. Buy your girl an appletini on us. We're going out on Thursday. We're not going out on Wednesday because I got shows to do on Wednesday night. And who wants to go out with all the other suckers? So we're going out the day after Valentine's Day for some steaks on Thursday. And I will buy my girl an appletini on you, Gogo Flamingo. Thank you so much for the generous donation to the show. We got Real Fight Picks is in the room saying, I'm here for the free ass shaving. Oi! And that will be coming up at the end of the show. We got 138 MMA, my guy Tyler saying, I'm here to listen to all the same takes I just heard a few minutes ago over on Couch Warriors channel. For some reason, I'm still stoked to hear them. Well, you're going to hear the complete extent of all the notes that I have on all these fights, Tyler. So we're ready to go here. We're ready to make some money and stack cash tickets like flapjacks for UFC 298. If you guys haven't checked out Tyler's channel, 138 MMA, or if you're not following him on Twitter, you're making a big mistake. Check him out. He does some really great content. He's on the panel with Couch Warrior, and they've got Dravi and MMA Prediction Guru as live guests this week, so that'll be a great show to check out. JP Taylor saying, I'm hate betting Jeff Neal's KO prop, currently plus 400 on DraftKings. That is his path to victory, in my opinion. We got K-Dog in the room saying, oi, T.O. Weezy, unfortunately listening from Northwestern Hospital downtown, but thanks for taking my mind off things for a bit. Dude, get better soon, K-Dog. We don't need you in a hospital, man. Get them to get you healed up and get home and start enjoying life and get ready to watch these fights on Saturday. Get better soon, my friend. But you're in good hands. The people at Northwestern, very smart people, my man. We got M.A. Laren in the room saying, oi, let's go, Unc. I messaged you earlier this week to get your take on a matchup, and you subtly let me know that despite the odds, it was the ass shaving of the week. So I've gotten, there you go, man. Nice work, dude. Always good to have you checking in with me on Twitter, my man. We got Jester saying, we got the flapjacks, we got the books stacked, we got, I don't know what that thing in the middle is, but I know my guy knows what it is, and we're gonna get it. Let's go, Jester. Good to see you hanging out in here. So you've gotten the mortgage and loans on my dog's names, Ultramax for a great night of earnings mode on the great. Thank you for your work as always. Your level of commitment and dedication to raising the level of bettors is unmatched. Only you can make it worth and valuable to go through 2+ hours videos. Truly appreciate that, man. Yeah, I should be cutting down the length of this show, but the bottom line is I do so much research and I write so much on every fight that if I don't, and I want to interact with the chat too. So if I'm going to read all my notes, give you all the stats, and interact with the chat, it goes over 2 hours every damn time. But only 12 fights this week. So hopefully we'll get it done a lot quicker this week. We got Michael Martinez is in the room saying, "Oi, my favorite show on YouTube. Let's get it, T.O. Weezy. Appreciate you, Michael. Thank you for hanging out in here." We got Blood Money, MMA Bets in the room saying, "What's up, Weezy? Can't wait to hear these winning picks." Let's get into it, man. I'm looking forward to stacking them high this week. Got good reads last week. Didn't quite get paid off for him. So this week we got to get paid for him. I am the true walrus in the room saying Neil Gary under 2.5 is plus 105 on DraftKings. I expected it to be a worse price. Both have finishing potential. Both are very emotionally involved. Though I get Neil is durable and Gary should have KO'd Magny. Yeah, I don't have a really good feel on the time props for that fight. I'm leaning over, but I know that Geoff Neal has got an absolute ton of power, and that unfortunately, Ian Gary's a very hittable dude. His distance striking defense is below average for the division. Remdog in the room saying, "Oi, Uncle Weezy, what's up? All is well here, man." We got Jester saying, "Weezy must have forgotten Valentine's Day is tomorrow, not tonight." No. I'm going on Thursday. I'm going on Thursday, my man. Thursday's when I'm going out, because tomorrow night I'm going to be doing some live shows for you guys. We got Jeff Brumo saying, "Reporting for duty." Thank you for hanging out, man. We got Eric Upperman saying, "Going to listen tomorrow while I drive around doing DoorDash." There we go. Make some money working and make some money betting on the fights. We got Kiwi Brew saying, "Sure, Daz. Oi, let's make some money," says my guy Pickle Kush. Kiwi Brew saying, "LOL, go." We got Taya saying, "Sure, I was here 28 hours ago waiting." There we go. Welcome back, my man. We got Go saying, "What's up to Kiwi?" Morphatrix saying, "Brand new sub here. I love approaching MMA from an analytic standpoint, so I'm here to learn. I hope I can teach you some things that you don't already know, Morphatrix, and we're going to get into it here shortly." Costa point spread plus 3.5 at minus 110. Very interesting if that fight winds up happening. We got Christian Jenkins saying, "Ooh, what's up, Bunk? Have you ever heard of the Rule 35 stat? What do you think about it as it applies to this week's main event?" Yeah, I have heard of that. The 35 and older, something like 2-25 in title fights. Every fight is independent. That's what we know, just by studying statistics, that, just because you rolled on a die 4 ones in a row, it doesn't mean you're any more or less likely to roll a 1 on the 5th roll, because the 5th roll doesn't have anything to do with the 4 that came before it. So we've got another situation where we've got a 35 or plus guy, but this guy's barely 35. He's 35 years old in 4 months, and he's facing a 27-year-old. And there are, that's just one of the stats that we're looking at here. Volkanovski's got a big experience advantage. He's fought the much better brand of competition. He's got a lot more experience in 5-round fights against higher level competition. So, I mean, as it applies, the younger guys win more than they lose. I'll tell you that. This is a young man's sport. Father time is undefeated, but I think we're getting a nice recency bias line here on Volkanovski due to the last fight that he had against Makhachev, him being knocked out in the first round. I think people think that he might be taking a turn for the worse, but I think the circumstances surrounding that fight, the elbow surgery that preceded it for him, short notice, 8 days notice in Abu Dhabi, up a weight class against the world champion at 155. I think it's a good performance to throw out the window, pretend it didn't happen, and then know that he's coming back down to the division where he's reigned supreme for all these years. So, yeah, I think you got to be careful whenever you're betting against the younger guy, the guy that has more power in Topuria. But I think Volkanovski is about as good of a bet as you can get in terms of getting a guy with phenomenal fight IQ who makes in-fight adjustments, who has great striking and great wrestling. Real Deal Prime saying wrestling rules, Weezy. Great to see you. Always good to have you here, my man. We got Dennis Karanovich saying flapjack stacking, come up. Let's go, man. This is a full card breakdown. Zot betting, go Cubbies. We got Briva in the room saying, oh, let's go, Weezy banger card. Let's do it. We got Abdi saying the fact Costa is on embedded. That's wild odds to have been plus 1,000 weigh-ins, plus 5,000. Yeah, man. And Morphatrix saying recency bias is playing way too much into the narrative of this main event, in my opinion, and I agree completely. Let's get to work. 62 of you guys hanging out live in here. We're going to start breaking down these fights. Let me share my screen with you here. And we've got the stats up on the screen. All these stats are available at your Uncle Weezy's Patreon at the address that's scrolling on the bottom of the screen. And we're going to start with the first fight of the night, which is going to be Andrea KGB Lee going up against Miranda Maverick. And we've got Andrea Lee is let's get the lines up here, a plus 165 underdog. Miranda Maverick minus 190 is a favorite. Fight doesn't go to decision. Big plus money number here at plus 225. The bookies are telling us this thing basically goes to decision about 75% of the time. Drinking a lovely Le Jus here. It is a hazy IPA from the great folks at Alarmist Brewery right here in Chicago, Illinois. And I'll be sipping on this beverage as we break down these fights tonight so that we can find ways to stack cash tickets like flapjacks. Now, Andrea Lee's the more experienced fighter here. She's got 4 more pro fights. She's got 3 more fights at the UFC level. And she's going to be 3 inches taller and have a 4-inch reach advantage here over Miranda Maverick. So we like those on-paper advantages. The height, the reach, the experience, the high-level experience. The better wins, in my opinion. But these ladies are pretty well matched everywhere else the fight goes. Now, Miranda Maverick, though, is going to be 8.5 years younger than Andrea Lee. So that's something that we have to absolutely take into consideration, because when you've got an age gap that big, the younger fighter is winning about 6 out of 10 times, so it's something that we have to be aware of, because that is a statistically significant advantage to have when you've got that big of a youth advantage in any weight class. So at distance, you've got good positive distance striking differentials for both of these ladies. Positive 1.06 for Lee, positive 1.69 for Miranda Maverick. We've had Andrea Lee land 1 knockdown in 11 fights, and Miranda has landed 0. Neither one of these ladies has ever absorbed a knockdown. I see Lee definitely doing a lot better work when fights are on the ground. She lands 2.45 clinch and ground strikes per minute spent in those positions, and only absorbs 1 for a positive 1.45 clinch and ground striking differential. While Miranda's a lot less active, only landing 1.56, but she absorbs about the same amount. A little more accurate, but a little bit less defensively responsible there. And Maverick landing 2.41 takedowns per 15 minutes compared to 1.84. She's showing 42% takedown defense as Maverick, and Lee's showing only 54% takedown defense. Both of these ladies get takedowns at a well above average rate for the division. So I see this fight being somewhat close on the feet, but I favor Lee's experience, height, and length. Both of them throw a pretty good amount of output. But Lee's just a little bit more accurate at distance. She's a little bit more defensively responsible at distance, and she gets her takedowns at a slightly higher clip, and she defends takedowns at a slightly higher clip. And also the grappling efficiency ratings here favor Andrea Lee, because she has less takedowns than her opponents, and she's attempted a lot less takedowns than her opponents have against her, but she gets an above average amount of control time based on those differentials compared to Miranda Maverick. So I see this being as close a fight as possible. But Lee at plus 165 just makes a lot more sense to me. Female underdogs cash a lot. And we find recency bias really kind of creeping its way into female fights a lot more than it is in male fights for some reason. So with Lee having lost her last 3 fights, but Maverick being winning 3 of her last 4, I think that's got, with that, and also with Maverick being so much younger, I think she's the rightful favorite here. But Andrea Lee's losing to Natalia Silva, Macy Barber, and Viviane Araujo, while Miranda Maverick's wins are against Priscilla Ketcha-Beating, Shanna Young, and Sabina Matzo, and she's losing to top-notch fighters like Jazz Davicius and Blanchfield. So it's a very interesting matchup, but I wouldn't recommend that anybody lay the juice on Miranda Maverick here. This is going to be a very close fight. And even if we look at the plus 3.5 points handicap, which is available on Bet Online, it's telling you, with Andrea Lee being minus 160 or at about a 62% implied probability, they're saying if this thing goes to the scorecards, there's a way better than 50% chance that Andrea Lee wins one of the rounds. So if they're telling you that, and then they're also telling you that Andrea Lee's almost as likely to finish, then I do see that, well, actually, Maverick minus 325, distance equals no action. I mean, she's not finishing Andrea Lee. I wouldn't mind having that plus 250 on the Lee side there. But yeah, I'm gonna pick Miranda Maverick to win this fight by decision, but I think it's gonna be very close. I think it's flip a coin, and I think it's dog or pass on the money line here. So let's bring up Tapology here, and we will go to the make picks for the Volkanovski versus Topuria card. And I am picking Miranda Maverick to win this one by decision. There we go. But like I said, with very little confidence, and I'm staying away from the money lines here, as I've gotten screwed a couple times on Andrea Lee, betting on her in close fights where it didn't work out. I had her at plus 200 against Macy Barber and didn't cash that ticket. So, and I think the fact that her partner is Tony Kelly makes the judges not like her, maybe. I don't know. It's weird. But yeah, I'm going with Maverick by decision, but it's not a fight that I really think is something I want to be gambling on a lot this week. All right. We got who really thinks Volkanovski is on the piss? That makes no sense. Yeah, I don't think anybody really thinks he is, We've got what is the hops in that hazy? We've got they're not listed on here. They're not listed, but it is a nice hazy. But I don't know if it's Rawaka. I don't know if it's Sabro. I don't know if it's any of these great New Zealand ops that you were telling me about, Eli, but it's a delicious beverage. All right. We got K-Dog saying, someone give this man a beer sponsor. That would be awesome. I would drink your beer on the air at all times. We got K Peanut saying, how much longer are you planning to stream? For at least another hour and a half. We got EQ in the room saying, oi, yes, what's up, EQ? We got Litz in the room saying, hey, Uncle Weezy, oi, you think Lee plus 3.5 is live? Then I was going to play it pretty big. No, I think it's live, yes. Don't like laying that kind of juice on a bet where you could get fucked by a judge's scorecard, right? Because Lee could easily win one of those rounds, and it could be 29-28, 29-28, 30-27 Maverick, and then you lose that bet. So I don't like laying juice on those points handicaps. They have to make sense. And I kind of use the points handicaps to see where, how close the books think the fight's going to be. And one that's really interesting this week, Hendry Cejudo, who's a plus 190 underdog. The points handicap on Hendry is minus 200. So this guy, they're telling you that he's only got about a 34 to 35% chance of winning the fight, according to his money line. But they're saying if it goes to decision, that there's more than a 2/3 chance that Henry wins at least one round. So that's a very interesting thing. So I look at those things, and when something really jumps outlets, then I'll bet it. But if it doesn't jump out, I kind of try to use it as an indicator to see what the book is thinking, what the line is telling me about what the book thinks the outcome is going to be. We got Pickle Kush in the room saying, I've been thinking Lee plus 3.5. It's minus 160. That's a lot of juice to pay. But I think that this fight goes to decision 8 out of 10 times probably. And I think Andrea Lee wins around most of those times. Leah is that Christopher Reeves head movement and footwork. God help us. I have your fellow statistician, Miranda Mav. Yeah, she's a smart girl, Miranda. She's a very smart girl, very hardworking girl. I think she's already got a master's degree. Yeah, she's a smart girl. Never forget Maverick got robbed against Barber. I do not forget that. Never forget that both these girls were robbed. Andrea Lee was robbed against Macy Barber, as was Miranda Maverick. So this is the matchup of the two ladies who got robbed in their Barber fights. Bruno saying Andrea Lee lost to Roxanne Modafferi and Lauren Murphy. Yikes. Yes, she did. We got Ben Ryder saying, thanks for everything you do. Always excited to watch your show. Thanks for watching, my man. We got Khabib is a bum saying, at Uncle Weezy, first day here. Do you got skin in this MMA journalism game, or you barely started watching 6 months ago and saw a money opportunity? Actually, I only just started watching fights like about 6 weeks ago. I've been doing this channel for a while and lying, saying that I've been watching tape and I'm a big fight fan, but really, I'm just bullshitting everybody. I'm just talking off the top of my head. I have no fucking clue what I'm talking about. So yeah, a huge money opportunity to be on YouTube and earn that $55 a month that they give me for running this channel. So yes, you absolutely got me. Khabib is a bum. I'm just in this for the money, my man. We got my guy Just Win Baby MMA saying, I drink Andrea Lee's bath water. She's a gorgeous woman, isn't she? She really is. I mean, drinking her bath water, that's commitment, my friend. But I appreciate commitment. You know, I mean, commitment shows dedication. And my man Just Win Baby, he's dedicated in more ways than one. We got JP Taylor in the room saying Lee versus Maverick has 1-800-GAMBLER vibes. Is this even mid-level women's MMA? Yeah, it's mid-level for sure. It's not top 10. And it's not bottom 30, but Miranda and Lee are solid women's flyweights. When is my next show? Is tomorrow night at 10 o'clock Central Time here for Ask Weezy. And I'm also be going live 8 o'clock Central Time on Pub Sports Radio for the DFS show with my guy Brady, Monk, and Gordo. All right, you guys, let's break down this next fight, which is a real banger. We got Oban Elliott at minus 310 going up against Valentine Woodburn at plus 260. Fight doesn't go to decision for this one. Minus 220 here. And don't forget, Valentine's Day is tomorrow, and Valentine Woodburn is fighting on the week of Valentine's Day. Is that a plus EV proposition? I don't know, but we're going to have to start keeping the stats because it starts this week. So I don't know about this one, you guys. Oban Elliott is a over 75% implied favorite on this fight. I would not be jumping in the pool and parlaying Oban Elliott, but let's talk about both of these fighters here. Oban is going to be 4 years younger, and he's going to have a 4-inch height advantage over Woodburn. Oban has the overall experience advantage. He's got 3 more fights, almost 50 more minutes of pro cage time in 1 more year as a pro. So he's the more experienced fighter, is Elliott. Oban is a well-rounded fighter who's fought a solid level of competition in the Cage Warriors promotion. He trains out of Shore MMA, and he comes from a fighting family as his father was a pro boxer and pretty much an all-around badass from what I heard. Oban can wrestle. He's got a good top game. His boxing is solid in the pocket, and he's durable. He's got good conditioning, and he's got a ton of heart. He's had plenty of adversity in his fights, and while he doesn't always come out on the other side with a win, this dude never quits, and if there's an ounce of quit in you, a dude like Oban Elliott can find it. Oban is 4 wins and 0 losses to the decision in his pro career, so he has the ability to win minutes in the cage, especially with his wrestling and top control and submission game where he's 3 wins and 0 losses to the sub as a pro. Oban's been knocked out twice as a pro, but both were by ground and pound TKOs. where he was out-grappled on the mat by Michael Figlak and the Latvian Express, Flaminas is his last name. What is the first name? It is... I forget what his first name is, but Flaminas is a good fighter from Latvia. That's why he's known as the Latvian Express. But Oban has got a solid combination of MMA skills that make him a well-rounded fighter. And since he fought decent guys on the regional scene, and he definitely has some charisma and skills on the mic, let's see if his skills translate at the UFC level. And Oban has fought the better guys as a pro. He actually fought solid guys in Cage Warriors, while Woodburn faced mid to low range regional scene competition in the Combat Night Pro promotion. Now, Valentine Woodburn's going to have a 2-inch reach advantage here, and this dude's got power. You can see it in the way that he's built. He's finished 5 of his 7 wins inside the distance, all of them by knockout. He can knock you out on the feet, and he also wrestles with power and can get high amplitude takedowns. Val is a Fusion Excel product. He's fought at the Combat Night Pro promotion, and his wins are against fairly low-level guys. Val loves the cage push, and he's pretty good at it because he's built like a fire hydrant, and he's about as hard to move as a fire hydrant. Val isn't technical. He doesn't have great conditioning. He's slow. He winds up on all of his punches, and he's not technical at all. I felt like I had to say that twice. But if this dude connects, your head might leave the octagon. He's explosive and powerful, and he fights his best when he's using that power on the feet at distance or with his offensive wrestling and ground and pound. So, I mean, I guess it's an interesting fight. Oban is making his UFC debut after winning a 3-round war against Kai Brito on Dana White's Contender Series, and Val Woodburn is getting his second UFC fight after stepping up to fight Bo Nickel on less than 1 week's notice in his UFC debut. Needless to say, Val's debut didn't go his way, but this is a much more winnable fight for him. I like Oban's youth, his height, his experience, his conditioning, and his strength of schedule advantages in this spot. But and at the time I wrote this, he was a -280 favorite. Now he's even past -300. And I can't advocate laying that kind of juice on a UFC debutant who we've seen get out-grappled by Flaminas and Figlak on the regional scene, along with the fact that we've seen Oban be put in really bad spots in some of his fights that he's actually won, like in the Brito fight. Val's got a 2-inch reach advantage. He's going to be the more explosive and powerful fighter here. He can win minutes with his clinch game, wrestling, and top control. And in the 2 fights that Oban has lost as a professional, we've seen him get taken down, held down, and out-grappled. And Val is strong and explosive enough of a wrestler to get Oban down and test his defensive grappling. I'm not laying the juice on Oban here, and I don't feel like I know enough about Val Woodburn to bet on him at the UFC level. So this is a dog or pass spot for me because I don't know if Elliott can successfully wrestle a fire hydrant. And I know that even though Elliott is more fast and technical as a striker, all it takes is one big overhand from Val to land in order to make this fight very interesting. I'm going to pick Oban Elliott to win this fight by decision, but with very little confidence. And I'd say the value is actually on the Valentine Woodburn money line. So yeah, we're going to go here to Oban, the Welsh gangster Elliott, and we're going to pick him to win by decision here. Let's see what you guys are saying in the chat. Let's see. Yeah, Khabib is a bum. The scream name tells you the level of intelligence you're dealing with. I know, man. I am the true Wallace saying, honestly, quite impressive. Weezy started MMA 3 days ago, and the quality is this high. Look, I'm a high quality bullshitter. I am the true Wallace, a high quality bullshitter. I don't know if the work is high quality, but I can bullshit at a high level. You can ask any of my high school teachers, any of my college professors, any of my former bosses at work. It's a gift in some of us, especially some of us Greeks. Well, MMA Guru did it after watching MMA for 3 weeks, so you have the upper hand on him. Did he really? I mean, that would surprise me if that was the case, but I mean, that dude has built a really big channel. I mean, that's for sure. I fell asleep watching Val Woodburn's regional fight tape. The line on this fight is super wide, though. Yeah, dude, if you guys are fans of cage pushing, you're going to love Val Woodburn's fights because this dude loves the cage push and grind, and he just doesn't do anything. He doesn't look very comfortable in there, so he just seems like he wants to kind of get his hands around you, push you up against the cage, and then try to find that big spot, a big shot on the exit from the clinch. Val via being big, I guess. Yeah, it could be, man. Let's see. K-Dog saying, UFC got a man who brings a rose for his opponent fighting on Valentine's Day fight week. Topuria for the win. That's awesome. I love it, man. We got Just Win Baby saying, Elliott arrived in Cali an hour ago. Only an hour ago, huh? Jet lag, debut, training out of a fitness center an hour from my house. I bet Val and $25 sub at plus 2,200. Val now at welterweight. Yeah, he's normally a middleweight. First cut down to welterweight. He's going to be too physical. Yeah, dude, he's huge. I mean, the guy is just all muscle. So, yeah, we're going to see if Oban has success trying to get him down and trying to keep him down. And maybe Val could have some wrestling success of his own because he's an explosive athlete in his own right. We got hashtag Val Sweep, says SD Crusader. We got Morphatrix saying the way you described a Val Woodburn sounds like the way everyone was describing Pete Rodriguez a couple of weeks ago. Yeah, man. That's for sure. Nobody really knows. You can tell people who started watching MMA within the last 2-3 years and the people who've been watching since the 2000s. I'm younger than this guy, but I guarantee I was watching MMA UFC way before him. I don't know what you're talking about. Khabib is a bum, but I bought UFC 5. All right. So I was in a living room watching UFC 5, watching Dan Severn break Oleg Taktarov's head in half. That was my first UFC event. So maybe you got to UFC 1 and you were watching UFC before me, but I don't think anybody cares, and not hating, just stating facts. Well, I don't think you stated a fact unless you watched before UFC 5. Fireside in the room with the big heart. What is up, dude? We got K-Dog saying, take your weak-ass burner account somewhere else, bro. We got Real Fight Pig saying, Woodburn fought this BJJ black belt in the light heavyweight fight, and he looked pretty good. That footage swayed me to pick Val. Okay. Ben Ryder saying, what day do you announce your ass shaving of the week pick? I do it on this show at the end of the show, so every Tuesday night, right around midnight. Blunt Magic saying, what's up, Uncle Weezy? Good to see you hanging out, Blunt Magic. We got JP saying, you're a dildo, not hating, just stating facts. Hey, we got to state the facts in here. Go saying, Khabib is a bum. It's not how you start. It's about how you finish. There's plenty to criticize about Khabib, but a bum he is not. Very, very silly, Khabib's bum. Weezy, ready for UFC at the Sphere next week? Yeah, dude. So I said it was at the Sphere. It's in Mexico City. Your Uncle Weezy makes mistakes sometimes. And we got K-Dog saying the line between Volk and Topuria is as close as Oban. Eyes. Dear God, I love it. All right, you guys, 75 of you hanging out live in here. I appreciate each and every one of you. Let's get on to Josh Quinlan at plus 158 going up against Danny left hand to God Barlow. And that is Barlow is a minus 183 favorite. Fight doesn't go to decision here. Juice to the tits at minus 250 for this fight. So Josh Quinlan, let's first start talking about him. Josh has slight overall and UFC experience advantages with one more pro fight, 10 more minutes of octagon time, and 2.5 more years as a pro fighter. Josh also has 2 more fights at the UFC level and 17 more minutes of octagon time. And Josh is a finisher. He has a 100% finish rate in 6 pro wins. He's got 2 submissions and 4 knockouts. He throws everything with power. He's 4-0 to the KO. He's got heavy hands, and as a former college soccer player, this dude has good footwork and endurance, and his low leg kicks are thrown with power and purpose, and he goes inside and outside with those low leg kicks. Both of his submission wins come by way of rear naked choke, so he can get to dominant positions on the ground as well and finish with functional submissions. So Josh is a fairly low-volume striker, but his calf kicks and power hooks to the head are extremely powerful and have to be respected. He knocked out Jason Witt in his only UFC win with a picture-perfect left hook, and he also starched Logan Urban on Dana White's Contender Series right away in the first round, but he tested positive for steroids after that fight, so that brutal KO win was overturned to a no contest. Josh is pretty much looking to remove your head from your shoulders or shatter your fibula with everything that he throws. So Barlow's going to have to maintain range here and not let Josh into the pocket where he can land a big headshot. Now, Barlow is 2.5 years younger. He's 2 inches taller, and he's got a 7-inch reach advantage. And he's the southpaw in this southpaw versus orthodox matchup with a statistically significant and that's a statistically significant advantage on paper. Big time measurables advantages here for Barlow. Danny is a sniper at distance striking range. He uses his length very well. He's got really good kicks, and his straight left hand is precise and powerful. Danny has 4 wins and 0 losses to the knockout as a pro, and he trusts that left hand to win moments for him, whether he leads with it or whether he counters with it. Danny's reach, his patience, and precision with his counters make him an extremely difficult opponent to deal with at distance striking range. So I'm really excited to see the debut of left-handed god Danny Barlow, as he's a very exciting striker that reminds me a lot of a guy who debuted last week in Carlos Prates. That precision sniper-like left hand is the best weapon in his arsenal, and when it lands, it's beautiful to watch. He's extremely long for the division, and he uses that length well, much like Trey Waters, who beat Josh Quinlan by decision in Josh's last fight. Josh pissed hot for steroids after that fight. He got a UFC debut win over Jason Witt, whose chin is amongst the worst in the history of the UFC. And Josh's regional scene wins and his Dana White's Contender Series win over a guy on 3 days' notice means he's also a largely unproven fighter despite his advantage over Barlow in UFC experience. Both these guys have power, but Quinlan might be able to find success with his leg kicks due to Barlow having a wide-bladed stance, but he needs to be very careful to set up those low leg kicks with his punches because Barlow has sharp counters, and if he lands that straight left, Quinlan is going to have problems. We just saw Quinlan struggle with a similar opponent in Trey Waters. Josh couldn't close the distance and find his way into the pocket, and Trey outworked him at distance striking range, outlanding him at distance 102-46 and winning 30-27 on all 3 judges' scorecards. Josh attempted 8 takedowns, but only got 1 of them and managed less than a minute of control time, so I don't know if expecting Josh to win minutes with his grappling is reasonable here, but he probably should try because he had so many problems closing the distance against Waters. I think Danny is going to find that straight left either in the first or second round here and finish this fight by knockout. But if he gets too anxious trying to find the finish, he might get clipped with something big by Quinlan. So I bet the under 1.5 rounds here. I got it at plus 145 for 1.5 units. Both these guys have massive power, so I think somebody's going to get served early here. I'm going to pick Danny, left-hand to God Barlow, to win this fight by second round knockouts. Barlow, KO, round 2. Please, Danny Barlow, shave the rat tail. This is 2024. Rat tails are unacceptable. They were unacceptable in the 80s when people actually did wear those things, and it was actually considered to be somewhat of a fashion statement. It never was. It was always a poor choice, and you can live the rest of your life with those poor choices in your rearview mirror, Danny Barlow. Get a decent haircut. You're a professional UFC fighter now. Start acting like one. All right. Let's see what you guys are saying in the chat here. We got, Quinlan did fall off after he got popped for roids. And that's a thing, when you're on the gas and then you have to get off of it, there's going to be a difference in your performance. And it just depends on how much gain you get from when you did do the steroids, how much of that muscle you can keep on your body, how much you can make use of that cycle that got you those gains. But now that he's in the UFC, he's got to be very careful because he's already been busted once. So if he pisses hot again, he's going to be out for 2 or 3 years, and then his career is pretty much done. So, it's going to be imperative for him to find a way to find wins in this organization without being on the gas. JP Taylor saying, I'm hearing a lot of people writing off Quinlan. This fight seems like a high variance fight more than the line is saying. Yeah, it is. I mean, Barlow's a debutante, so there's, it's really hard to trust debutantes at chalk you've got to be very confident. You've got to be very careful about picking those spots. And when you do pick those spots, you got to be confident in your read. Remdog saying, I know I'm a degenerate. I got a two-legger with Maverick and Barlow plus 136 to close out the early prelims. And I don't think a half unit bet on Val at plus 250 is a donation either. Yeah, I don't either. I mean, like we've seen Oban Elliott lose plenty of rounds, lose plenty of minutes on the regional scene. And Val's a guy who hits hard and can wrestle. Barlow is going to smoke Quinlan so bad. We'll see, man. But I like Barlow. I think he's a good prospect. This guy's striking is next level. Quinlan got jabbed to pieces by Trey Waters. Similar reach disadvantage here. Yes, sir. Think Quinlan will have difficulty with the range again? Yeah, I mean, Barlow's got a 79-inch reach, so that's going to be a problem for him. Barlow KO, straight is going to beat the hook. Yeah, I think so. I agree. And that's how he throws. He does throw straight. I was so confused, excited for a minute. I'll be in Vegas next weekend. I'll be going to the Sphere for their regular show. I think the UFC Sphere show is in September for Mexican Independence. So the reason I thought that this was at the Sphere was because there was a headline that said Dana White said that the Sphere Mexico event was going to be a love letter to Mexican combat sports. So when I saw all the Mexican fighters, I just assumed that this one was going to be at the Sphere, but it's in Mexico City. Remdog saying, can't wait for that Sphere event. I'm planning to go for sure. That place looks cool, man. I'm planning to go to that fight night as well. Nice. Barlow has a great left hand. If you guys didn't know, yes, he does. That is for sure, man. All right, let's move on to this next fight as we've got Mingyang Zhang at minus 121 going up against Brendson Ribeiro at plus 101. Fight doesn't go to decision. Juice to the tits at minus 700 for this fight. So let's get the stats up here on the screen for you guys. And we're going to first start talking about the advantages that Mingyang Zhang has over Ribeiro here. Now, he's 2 years younger than Brendson, and both guys are young, but Zhang is only 25 years old. Now, Zhang has a 100% finish rate as a pro, and his average fight time in 22 professional fights is 3.11 minutes per fight. So he fights like he's double parked. He has 6 submission wins. He has 10 KO wins. And we saw some really nice pressure from him in the Tuco Tacos fight on Road to UFC, and the ability to land big straight punches on the feet. Zhang can also wrestle and win fights with his ground game as well. He's very young, and having 22 pro fights at the age of 25 means he's already well tested and experienced for his age. He's been in Vegas training at the PI, so this kid could open some eyes if he builds on that Tacos win. Now, Brendson Ribeiro has got a 1-inch height advantage, and he's going to have a 6-inch reach advantage here over Zhang. Brendson has 1 less pro fight than Zhang, but he does have 30 more minutes of pro cage time. And Ribeiro, like Zhang, is a finisher. He has a 100% finish rate in 15 pro wins, 6 submissions, 9 knockouts for Ribeiro. And even his loss against Volkanovski in the M1 promotion was a fight that he actually won. His opponent tapped to a triangle choke. He let him out of the choke after he tapped, and then the referee said that the guy didn't tap and made the guy who tapped start fighting again, even though he tried to tell him that he tapped. So it looked like that he had been even in a fixed fight in Russia. But that's the only fight of Ribeiro's that's ever went to decision. So these guys have got 43 fights, 22 for Zhang, 21 for Ribeiro. And Zhang's only been to decision once, and Ribeiro's only been to decision once, but the fight that he went to decision, he actually tapped the guy out in the first round. So these guys don't fight into second rounds barely at all, ever. Now, this is going to be a really fun fight between two sloppy but dangerous fighters. Both guys have 100% finish rates in their wins, and in their 43 combined fights, the weighted average fight time between these two guys is 3.87 minutes. Both guys can finish fights by knockout and submission, and both guys have been finished by KO and submission. So while it might be hard to predict who wins and by what method, the conventional wisdom says somebody is going to get served here, and probably in the first 7.5 minutes. as the under 1.5 rounds is currently priced at minus 325, or a 76.5% implied probability. I'm leaning Ribeiro because he's fought, beaten, and lost to the far superior brand of competition. The guys Zhang has beaten outside of the Tacos fight are absolutely laughable, while Ribeiro has been taking tough fights both in Brazil and in Russia against experienced fighters with winning records. The biggest hole in Ribeiro's game is he can get stuck on his back and absorb tons of ground and pound, and Zhang has shown the ability to do damage while on top. On the feet, I love what I saw from Zhang in the Tacos fight. He pressured, he threw his punches straight down the pipe while showing off a decent chin. Ribeiro has the 6-inch reach advantage, but I've never seen him do a great job of using that reach. And Zhang's pressure will make it even harder to outpoint him at range. So I think that this fight mostly takes place in the clinch and on the mat. And I favor Ribeiro's experience, submission game, and sweeps while there. And his top control is also very good. Zhang has only seen the second round 3 times in his pro career, and he's lost every single time a fight has went past the 5-minute mark due to his front-loaded kill or be killed style. So I'm going to go with the experience, height, reach, conditioning, and strength of schedule advantages Ribeiro has, and I'll pick Ribeiro to win this fight by second round ground and pound knockout. So we got Brendson Ribeiro by knockout in round number 2 over the Mountain Tiger, Mingyang Zhang. I want to show you guys Mingyang Zhang's opponents so you understand what trash this guy's been fighting on the Chinese regional scene. So outside of the Tacos fight here, who's a 9-3 middleweight who fought up a 205 for that fight and fought in Singapore on short notice. Before Tacos, it's Chang Huo, who's 2-6. Before that, it's Calibao Zhang. He beat this guy twice. He's 6-11. Before that, it's Han Dong Kong. Look at that horseshit haircut, fake ass blonde hair, looking like, I don't even know. It looks like he's in a Chinese emo band. And Han Dong Kong is 9-8. Calibao Zhang again, 6-11. Hong Yan Tian, look at that fat prick, 2-5. 2-5. He beats this guy. Anding Ma is 8-6, one of the better fighters, but he pretty much retired after that fight. Chang Shuang Ho again, 2-6. And Ali Reza Viafai from Iran, 4-2. So the guy has fought a really, really low level of competition. And this is a massive step up because Brendson Ribeiro has been fighting in Russia. He's been fighting in Brazil. Much more experienced guys, much better brand of competition. So because of all that, I wound up placing a 1-unit bet on the Brendson Ribeiro money line at plus 124. That has since moved. I think the best you could do right now is around even money. So, but I do like Ribeiro here. The strength of schedule, the reach, the experience, and the superior submission grappling game has me picking him to win this fight by second round knockout. Let's see what you guys are saying in the chat. Blunt Magic likes Josh Quinlan. Papa Chuck is in the room saying, yo, homies, Unc, please tell me that you want to see Mr. Ian get his block knocked off this week. Yes, I do. I think everybody wants to see Ian Gary get slept. These guys are the Brazilian Chinese versions of each other. They definitely are. They're first round finishers, and they also get finished a lot. Brava's saying this fight is going to be insanity. Can't wait. It's going to be a really fun fight. Ben Ryder saying, why is Ian a fighter that a lot of people don't like? I do not know anything about him. It's just his personality. The guy talks a lot of shit. He's one of these people who talks a ton of shit, but then when somebody talks back to him, he can't take it. So it's the worst kind of bully, the one that can't take it coming back. We got Sammy Malcolm in the room saying, oh, what is up, Sammy? We got Benino in the room saying he bought Bang Ding Ow on the regionals. He's pretty good. Bang Ding Ow. It's a great name, man. We got Zhang at minus 121. He had won a bunch. He had one of those side notes on his Tapology record saying he was part of a fixed fight. Yeah, I mean, well, he's fighting on the Chinese regional scene, man. It's an extremely low level regional scene, very very low level. MMA is in its infancy out there. Fubu saying, I think Zhang is better in the clinch, but I agree with everything else. Zhang is a madman and it seems fine with going to sleep trying to kill his opponent. Yes, he is. He's absolutely that. Fubu saying, John Vake slept Zhang a while back. Vake is Izzy's teammate. Yeah, big left hook that he absolutely just chin spun Zhang. But a lot of those losses that you see on the tape index from Zhang came years ago when he was much younger. Blunt Magic saying that he likes Ribeiro. Morphatrix saying, I've hated him since he wouldn't stop screaming and foaming at the mouth at the press conference before his fight with Magny. Dude is a man-child. Yeah. You really do a great job of explaining things. Thanks for explaining things so I can understand. You have a great gift. I appreciate you, Ben. Thank you for the kind words, man. All right. Let's move on to this next fight, which is Rinya hybrid Nakamura at minus 1,200 fighting the UFC 36-year-old debutante in Carlos Vera here. Vera is a plus 750 underdog. The fight doesn't go to decision here, sitting at minus 325. So Rinya Nakamura is 7.5 years younger, 1 inch taller than Carlos, and he's a southpaw. And Rinya has the UFC experience advantage with 2 more fights and 15 more minutes of octagon time. Rinya has the better finish rate as a pro, 75% compared to only 54% for Vera. He's explosive on the feet, and he's a very dangerous moment and minute winner in the grappling exchanges. Rinya has landed a knockdown on 5.71% of the distance strikes that he lands. When he's on the feet at distance striking range, Rinya doesn't mind throwing down and seeing who hits harder and who has the better chin. He's absolutely hittable at distance, but the threat of the wrestling along with the power and purpose he throws his strikes with makes him a very dangerous striker to deal with. He knocked out Akuri Ronda with a head kick in Shutu. He knocked out Shohei Nose in the first round in an absolute war for the 2 minutes and 21 seconds that it lasted. And he flatlined Kazama with a straight left in his UFC debut. So it's not just this kid's wrestling you need to worry about, but Nakamura's wrestling is elite. He is the 2017 under 23 world champion at 135 pounds for freestyle wrestling, and it shows in the cage. This guy can get takedowns whenever he wants them. His scrambling is elite, as is his ability to get to his opponent's back. And once he gets you down, you tend to stay there as he advances position, lands ground and pound, and he hunts for submissions and crucifix positions. His minute winning ability in the grappling exchanges is incredible, and he showed that off in the Fernie Garcia fight in the UFC. Now, Carlos Vera is going to have a 1.5 inch reach advantage, and he's a switch stance fighter. Let me write that in here. I didn't write that. And Carlos has the overall experience advantage as he's got 6 more pro fights than Rinya and over 105 more minutes of cage time in 6.5 more years as a professional. In addition, Vera had a 13-fight, 3-year amateur career where he went 9-4. So Carlos has been around for a minute. He's 36 years old, but with that age does come a decent amount of experience. And Carlos is a solid all-around fighter. On the feet, he has a Taekwondo stance, and he switches stances a lot while maintaining distance with feints and kicks. Carlos is also 5-2 to the submission in his pro career. He trains at 50-50 BJJ with Ryan Hall, so he's got a tricky ground game to deal with as well. Like I mentioned before, Carlos is experienced as a pro and amateur. He's got tricky striking and grappling games to deal with, and his regional scene strength of schedule is solid. He's not spectacular anywhere, but there aren't any massive holes in his game either. But Nakamura is like minus 1,200 here, and there isn't a whole lot to talk about besides time props. Carlos is a solid, well-rounded fighter, but nothing he does is going to give a fighter like Nakamura any problems. Nakamura is more dangerous wherever this fight goes. He's 7.5 years younger than Carlos. I have no idea why the UFC signed a 36-year-old bantamweight like Vera, but here we are. The line reflects Vera's chances, and outside of a Hail Mary heel hook, I don't really see how Vera wins this fight. So I'm going to pick Rinya Nakamura to win this fight by 2nd round submission. And I'm going with the submission because even though Nakamura has 5 wins by knockout and only 1 by submission, both of Vera's finished losses as a professional came by way of submission. And Nakamura is such a talented grappler that I think that there could be a little bit of value on the sub prop this week for him, because you're paying juice on the KO prop and especially on the money line. But yeah, we're going to go second round submission here for Rinya Nakamura against Carlos Pequeño Vera. And these should all still be there. All right. Let's see what you guys are saying in the chat here. Fubu saying he likes the under 2.5 at -140 here. Let's see what the prop template says about the under 2.5 at -140. Nakamura Vera under 2.5 -240. 1 of 2 Nakamura. Yeah, we don't have much data on this one. Definitely way overpriced according to the benchmark, but it is a Nakamura fight, and it's a fight with a really wide line. So a lot of people are expecting a finish there. Oh my God, isn't that hilarious? Yeah, BetOnline released Rinya in round 1 at -150 and the under 1.5 at +150. Oh my God. That is hilarious, man. They're just telling you what they want, They don't want you betting Rinya for round 1. JP Taylor saying the UFC must really want a Japanese star to succeed. How many of these barely sanctionable fights is Rinya going to have? And I'd ask the same thing about Tatsuro Taira, because it seems like Taira is matched up with a complete bum every time. So it seems like, because they even had Japanese Connor, and now that guy's been fraud checked and lost 2 in a row. So yeah, maybe they are trying to protect these guys a little bit, but the Japanese have a very good wrestling scene in Japan, and their wrestling team is about as good as it gets. So it's good to see a high-level wrestler out of Japan like Nakamura come in here and have some success. K-Dog saying, how did this fight get sanctioned? I don't know, man. Doesn't make any sense to me. Love the under here, says Benino. Fubu saying I parlayed the under 2. There you go. $20 on Carlos. Yeah, it's a nice high upside bet. Sorry, my keyboard's enter is having a shit fit. Vera was dick riding McGregor during his time at the Tough House. Yeah, man, trying to make friends with Connor. Can't blame him. Connor's a good guy to have in your corner, especially if you need cocaine. Fubu parlayed under 2.5 with the Lemos money line. There you go. We got easy bets in the room saying, what's up, Unc? Looking forward to Valentin Woodburn fight week. Let's get it, man. Let's see if he can take some of the hype off of Oban. First time here live, Weezy. Love your work. Appreciate you, Fubu. Thanks for hanging out, man. Tyra, same thing, Unc. You're right. Yeah, man. He'll get some higher level fights. He's still so young. Kinoshita, yes, Japanese Connor. That's right. That was the guy that got fraud checked twice now. All right. Let's move on to this next fight, and it's going to be Marcos Rogerio de Lima. He is a -140 favorite going up against Justin Badman Tafa at +120. Fight doesn't go to decision here. Juice to the tits once again at -500 for this fight. Let me get a sip. So, mid-range heavyweight fight here. Let's first start talking about Marcos Rogerio de Lima, who's 1 inch taller, and he's going to have a 1 inch reach advantage over Justin. Marcos has the overall and UFC experience advantages. He has 20 more pro fights, 130 more minutes of cage time in 8 more years as a pro fighter. He also has the UFC experience advantage with 9 more fights and almost 60 more minutes of octagon time. Marcos has demonstrated a much more well-rounded MMA skill set in comparison to Tafa. Justin has 7 pro MMA wins. They all come by knockout, and all those knockouts came in the very first round. He's never won a pro fight that has went past the 5-minute mark, and he's never even landed a takedown in the UFC. Now, Marcos, on the other hand, he's got 2 UFC wins by way of sub, 5 UFC wins by way of knockout, and 3 by decision. He's just as capable of landing a brutal knockout on the feet as he is taking his opponent down and winning minutes with his top control and his ground and pound. And Marcos has been training at ATT for a long time now, and he's definitely rounded out his game since he first appeared in the UFC as a pure kickboxer. And Marcos' distance striking metrics in the UFC are very good. He's got a positive 1.25 distance striking differential with 53% accuracy and 56% defense. He attempts and lands about 2 more strikes per minute than the divisional average, and his power numbers are excellent. Marcos lands a knockdown on 2.63% of the distance strikes that he lands, landing 6 knockdowns in 17 UFC fights and finishing 5 of his 10 UFC wins by way of knockout. Marcos has nasty kicks to all targets on the body, but his calf kicks in particular really hinder his opponent's ability to put weight on their front leg and stay behind their jab. Marcos is definitely the better minute winner at range, but his ability to win moments with his power is right there on Tafa's level. And Marcos has definitely demonstrated the ability to win minutes and moments with his grappling game at the UFC level, while Tafa has not. Marcos spends 62% of his UFC cage time in control time positions, and he outcontrols his opponents 44% to 18%, winning over 70% of the control time positions his fights are in. Marcos averages 1.55 takedowns per 15 minutes, and he gets his takedowns at a way above average 48% clip. He's also demonstrated a solid submission game, winning 2 of his UFC fights by way of submission, and even though being submitted is Lima's weakness, Tafa couldn't submit a crash test dummy, so I wouldn't be concerned for Lima in the grappling exchanges of this fight. If Marcos is ever not comfortable at distance striking range, the opportunity to test Tafa's grappling game should be there for him to take Justin out of the fight that he's most comfortable in. Marcos should have a big grappling advantage in this matchup. And Marcos has fought, beaten, and lost to the more experienced brand of UFC competition, and it isn't really even that close. The combined UFC records of Marcos's UFC opponents is 118 wins and 98 losses, while for Tafa, it's 10 wins and 23 losses. Tafa's wins over Lane, Porter, Hunsucker, and Juan Adams are about as bottom of the barrel as it gets. And frankly, losing to Carlos Felipe, Jared Vandera, and getting violently slept by Jorgen de Astro are horrible losses at this level. So Marcos is getting a pretty big step down here against a one-dimensional opponent who is first-round knockout or bust as a professional and got outworked at distance by complete bums like Carlos Felipe and Jared Vandera. Now, Justin Tafa is 8.5 years younger than Marcos Rogerio de Lima, and he's 7 wins and 1 loss to the knockout as a pro. This dude has bricks for hands, and if he lands on you early, you're going to sleep. 100% of Tafa's 7 pro wins come by first-round knockout, and he's landing a knockdown on 2.37% of the distance strikes that he lands. The distance striking differential is below average at negative 0.96. His defense is ass at 51.7%. He's been knocked down and knocked out once at the UFC level, and it was Jorgen de Castro on a perfectly timed counter right that Tafa walked onto. Other than that, Tafa has heavy hands and serious KO power. He pressures and finds his way into the pocket and unleashes with that big left hand of his. Standing voluntarily in the pocket with this dude is a very bad idea. He is a bad man with bad hands, but if you can avoid that first round knockout, Justin really doesn't bring that much else to the table. So this one promises to be a bit of a ding-dong. Both of these guys have massive power early in fights. All 11 combined finish wins in the UFC for Tafa and de Lima came in the first round. Both guys have distant knockdown percentage rates over 2%, and both guys can end your night with one shot. Justin is 8 years younger than Marcos, so he definitely has the youth and upside here, as he could be getting better and rounding out his game at the age of 30, while at 38, Marcos Rogerio de Lima is a finished product. That being said, de Lima is taller, he's longer, he's more experienced overall and in the UFC by quite a bit. He matches Tafa's power on the feet while bringing a reliable grappling game along with the power that helps him win minutes, especially against one-dimensional strikers. And he's also fought the much better level of competition in comparison to Tafa. It's important to remember that Marcos closed a minus 230 favorite against the heavyweight knockout king in Derek Lewis. And now he's only minus 140 against Justin Tafa, a guy whose best win is against Parker Porter. I think Marcos' calf kicks cause problems for Tafa, even though Tafa's a southpaw, who is heavy on his lead leg, and that could set up the takedown entries or a potential head kick to end the night. I have to go with De Lima to win this fight because he has so many more ways to win, and the experience, grappling, and strength of schedule advantages are too big to ignore here. I think he uses his grappling game to slow down the fight early, take the sting out of Tafa's punches, and then outvolumes him down the stretch to win a decision. And I'm going to make that my official pick. Even though this is minus 500 to finish inside the distance, I feel like if it doesn't finish in the first round, it's going to go the full 15. And if it goes the full 15, I really favor Marcos Rogerio de Lima's minute-winning skills over a 15-minute period, much more than Tafa's. So the official pick is going to be Marcos Rogerio Pesao de Lima to win this fight over Justin Tafa by decision. Let's see what you guys are saying in the chat. Tafa or pass, says JP Taylor. Silky B loves the over 1.5 here at plus 135. Silky B, if I were you, and I would bet half the amount that you're planning on betting on the over 1.5 and just put it on the fight goes to decision. Because if this fight doesn't finish in the first, De Lima and Tafa have combined for 0 second and third round finishes in their career. So get a bigger price and get double the line, get it probably plus 270 or better. And then what you could do is just put half the amount of money on it. Real Fight Pick saying money line is a little chalky, a little bit, yes, because Tafa is a very, very good boxer, and he's just as likely to land a big shot on the feet as De Lima, and taking down dudes who miss 266 pounds like we've seen Tafa do once in the past is very difficult. Derek Lewis gave us the easy blueprint for beating De Lima. He has no answer for opening with that jumping knee. Yeah, you never know, man. He didn't deal with that very well against Derek. Justin Tafa via meme boink. Yes, he can absolutely win that way. Asan Gofor saying, unless Tafa sleeps him in the 10 seconds, De Lima going to work him. I tend to agree with you there. I think Jared Vandera was on the sauce. That guy does not look like he's on steroids. He looks like he's on carbs. SD Crusader saying, I took Lewis against De Lima, but he's tough as hell. That knee would have killed most guys, but he survived it at least a bit. I'm about as confident as you can be for middling heavyweights. Yeah, I think there's just more ways for Rogerio de Lima, and both of these guys have power on the feet. De Lima's slower now, and his chin is starting to crack. Yeah, well, there's a big age difference here in favor of Justin Tafa, as he's only 30, while De Lima's pushing 39. Do you think De Lima becomes a good live bet spot if it goes to the second? Potentially, yes. It just depends on how the first round goes. What do you think about the under 1.5 rounds as a parlay piece? I would rather bet the fight doesn't start round 2, get an even better price. And I think that as a parlay piece, it could work. In terms of it being plus EV, according to the price, the under, what is it? Under 1.5 at minus 200, 13 of 17 De Lima fights and 6 of 8 Tafa fights. So 76% of their 25 combined fights have finished under 1.5 at the UFC level, and you're only paying 66% on the line. So I would say that it's still a bettable line, and I'd say it could be construed as a plus EV bet. Sammy says hard fight to predict. I don't know if this is like Flowers Johnson or Palga Guskov. I don't think there's that big of a skill gap, because I think Palga's a much more skilled overall fighter than Guskov. Obviously, Michael Johnson is way more skilled than Darius Flowers. But you've got the chin issues of Pauga, so he had to fight smart, and he didn't fight smart, so that he got clipped. But we'll see. The Real Dark Knight saying, "What's up, Weezy? What's up, Real Dark Knight? Thank you for hanging out." We got Fubu saying, "Lima is a terrible gas tank if this gets extended. I feel it's a one-man fight, but Tafa's hittable and a turtle on his back. But give me the younger man at plus money." There you go. You performing next year's Super Bowl, Weezy? I don't know, man. My agent is probably the laziest prick on the face of the planet, so I don't think he's going to get me that big of a gig. But if he does, these turntables that are behind me, we can put them to work and we can make the American public dance. Easy bet saying Vandero was on sauce. It's just applesauce. That's exactly right. There you go. K-Dog saying barbecue sauce. Frank Vituli saying that either one of these guys goes 3 rounds is at the Chinese buffet. Yeah, that's for sure. Real Fight Pick saying Lima can't avoid a flying knee, though. Yep. We got Only Bet the Plus saying, decent Vandero was on the sauce. His drop-off was unexplainable compared to him on the circuit. Morphatrix saying, Zach, I am not stupid Pauga, the new mythical fighter. Yes, sir. Dark Knight, loving it. All right, you guys, let's move on to this next fight, which is going to be Amanda Lemos at minus 121 going up against Mackenzie Dern, the underdog at plus 101. The fight doesn't go to decision here, sitting at minus 155 for this fight. Let me get a sip. All right. So this is the power of Amanda Lemos at distance striking range versus the grappling and control game of Mackenzie Dern on the ground. This is going to be an easy fight to break down in that, if this fight stays standing and Dern doesn't get takedowns, Lemos is going to land the bigger shot and make it look easy. If Dern is able to constantly pressure, avoid the big shot of Lemos, clinch up, drag her down to the ground, or even pull guard or try to get her back standing, I think she can win enough minutes. If she's able to get this fight to the ground in 2 out of the 3 rounds, I think she wins enough minutes to win this fight. Great bet here that the Couch Warrior pointed out. The decision only prop. So this bet voids if it finishes inside the distance right now, is Amanda Lemos minus 260 and Dern plus 200. Now, we just saw Amanda Lemos get taken down and destroyed on the mat by Weili Zhang. Let's see if I can find those stats for you guys. So the Weili Zhang fight here, if we scroll over to the defensive stats, you can see Weili was 6 of 7 on her takedowns, and in a 1,500-second fight, got 967 seconds of control time. That is something that we know Mackenzie Dern isn't the best wrestler. But if she does get this fight to the ground, it's very, very clear that she's going to be able to keep it there and win a ton of minutes there and potentially get a submission there as well. So this is about Amanda Lemos stopping takedowns, but unfortunately, Amanda Lemos' takedown defense is 55% on 18 attempts against, and she's allowing 33% control time to her opponents. So this is a match that's setting up for Dern to be able to win minutes and potentially moments on the ground because Lemos has bad takedown defense, because she has a bad get-up game, and because she has bad submission defense. Somebody who's 7-0 to the submission like Dern could absolutely find ways to win minutes and moments on the ground here against Lemos. And then for Lemos, I don't see her winning the minutes of this fight. I see her landing big shots on the feet as long as it stays at distance striking range, but I don't think Mackenzie's going to let it stay there, and I think that this is going to wind up in the clinch and on the ground, and if that happens, I think Mackenzie Dern is going to win this fight. But if she's unable to get this fight to the ground, I think it's a very high probability that Amanda finishes this fight via KO. She's 8-1 to the KO in her career, and Mackenzie Dern is 0-1 to the KO in her career. So this shapes up like a fight that could finish, on the Dern side or on the Lemos side. My pick is going to be Mackenzie Dern, and I'm picking her to actually win it by decision here because Mackenzie, while she's gotten her opponents down, she's put a lot of them into bad spots. I think people have realized to just play defense when Mackenzie's on top of you, realize that you're going to lose that round. But if you try to win the round back after she takes you down, chances are you're going to lose the fight because you're going to give up a bad position where she can submit you. So I do like Mackenzie Dern, but I like Lemos to be durable enough and show enough heart to not get submitted, not get finished, and allow Mackenzie Dern to win this fight by decision. And I have a 1-unit bet at plus 200 on the Mackenzie Dern decision only prop on BetOnline Sportsbook. Let's see what you guys are saying in the chat here. Sammy Malcolm saying, I like that way of seeing things. Skill gap, chin. I would add cardio also, the big three. Yeah, man, that's for sure. Chin is very important. Cardio is important. Skill gap, more ways to win a fight. That's important. And then volume, the ability to land more than your opponents do, be more efficient than your opponents are. All those are very important. Is Amanda Lemos free money or am I just stupid? She should be minus 200. No, she's not free money. Lemos is not the best grappler in the world. She relies on landing big shots. And if she doesn't do that, she's not a very good minute winner. So I would say Lemos in a finish only prop would be the best way to bet her because I think if this fight goes the full 15, you're going to see Mackenzie get the nod because if she lasts 15 minutes with Lemos, it probably means it wasn't on the feet a whole lot. Weili's takedown offense is night and day against Dern's. Yeah, that's true. But the point is that she got 6 of 7 takedowns, right? If Lemos is only stopping 1 of 7 takedowns against Weili, why can't Dern get 2 of 7 takedowns, right? I mean, think about that. And you got to remember, Mackenzie Dern is the young fighter here. She's the one that can still be making improvements. And she is doing that. We have seen Mackenzie Dern take the next step a couple of different times. She took a step back in the last fight against Andrade, but Andrade finished Amanda Lemos in the first round. So it's not, I think that this is a great opportunity to take advantage of some recency bias on Mackenzie Dern here. I think this is going to be a sloppy split decision. It certainly could be. The battle of pretty versus handsome, and you got that right, man. Amanda is handsome, and Mackenzie is pretty. Mind over matter saying Dern's takedown offense is to drag you down. I think Lemos fucks her up like Jessica did. She might be able to, but, Dern doesn't necessarily have to take you down. She can pull guard and be just as dangerous. She can get your back standing and be even more dangerous. More of a trick saying, Dern's last 2 fights were so wildly different, it's hard to know what version of her we are getting. Pass for me. Oh, I understand that. I don't think Dern has ever been a dog in the UFC. Good buy low spot for me. Dern more likely to finish than Weili if she can get it to the ground. That's very, very true. Dern can pull guard if she isn't brainwashed to stand. Yeah, and I would like her to pull guard. I think that she could pull guard, and it's a great idea for her to do that because she's the better grappler here. Blunt Magic likes Dern here. We got Sammy saying agreeing with you. Lemos is 1 takedown away from a sub. Skills to Mackenzie, and she's dangerous on the floor, not like Zhang. Agreed. What's Andrade's takedown defense stats? They're not great. They're around 50 some odd %, if I'm not mistaken. So let's look here at Mackenzie Dern, and then we can click on Jessica Andrade, and her takedown defense is 72%. So it's above average for sure for the division. Right. All right, you guys. Let's move on to the next fight, which is going to be Anthony Fluffy Hernandez at minus 244 going up against Roman Kopylov at plus 209. The fight doesn't go to decision here. It's juiced up to minus 325 for this fight. This is probably my favorite fight on the card. I'm a huge Anthony Hernandez fan, and Roman Kopylov has been so hot lately. We got 2 guys who are really on fantastic winning streaks right now, both of them on a 4-fight winning streak. And this is to take the next step towards that top 10. And whoever wins this fight's getting launched into that top 10 conversation for this division. So very interesting fight here. And we're going to start talking about Anthony Hernandez, who's going to be 2.5 years younger than Roman Kopylov. And Hernandez has got a combination of attributes that I love to back when I'm betting on fighters: pace, pressure, durability, heart, and suffocating grappling. That is how Fluffy fights. He doesn't get tired. He can absorb big headshots and keep coming forward. He chains together takedown and submission attempts constantly until he breaks you. Everything that Fluffy does offensively is done at a mind-boggling pace. Hernandez attempts 14.97 distance strikes per minute. That's 4.74 more than the divisional average. He lands 7.25 distance strikes per minute. That's 3.09 more than the divisional average. He attempts 12 takedowns per 15 minutes. That is 8.11 more than the divisional average. He gets 6.86 takedowns per 15 minutes. That's 5.47 more than the divisional average. He attempts 2.94 submissions per 15 minutes. That's 2.5 more than the divisional average, and he averages over 54% control time while doing all of those other things. Jaw help you if your conditioning isn't the best it's ever been when you fight this guy, because the pace that he puts on his opponents in the octagon is terrifying. Now, Hernandez's strength is his grappling game. He's 7 wins and 1 loss to the submission in his pro career, and Kopylov's only finished loss came by way of submission. As I mentioned before, his pace is his best weapon, and he puts up video game numbers in his grappling metrics: 6.86 takedowns per 15 minutes on 12 attempts, almost 3 submission attempts per 15 minutes, winning 75% of the control time positions that his fights have been in, while forcing the grappling to such an extent that 72% of his octagon time at the UFC level is spent in control time positions. Kopylov is a phenomenal striker, but if Fluffy fights the way he usually does, this fight won't be at striking range for long, and Hernandez categorically refusing to fuck off with his takedown and submission attempts is going to wear on the kickboxer who prefers to stand in range, at range, and pick his opponents apart with his rare combination of speed and power. Now, Fluffy has fought the much better brand of UFC competition overall, and his UFC wins rate better than Roman's as well. The combined UFC records of the 5 guys Fluffy has beaten: 37 wins and 30 losses, while for the 5 guys Roman beat have combined records of 10 wins and 16 losses. So Fluffy's strength of schedule rates better than Roman's according to my metric. Now, Roman is the southpaw in this southpaw versus orthodox matchup. Roman has got 70 more minutes of pro cage time compared to Hernandez, and he's got the better finish rate as a pro, which is impressive considering Hernandez is also a top-notch finisher. Roman has finished 11 of his 12 wins inside the distance, all of them by knockout, and all 4 of his UFC wins come by way of knockout. Now, Roman's striking is elite. His metrics are solid with a positive 1.1 distance striking differential, despite the fact that he attempts 1.24 less strikes per minute than his opponents do. This is due to the fact that he's efficient at range with a 52% accuracy and over 63% distance striking defense. Roman's landing a knockdown on 1.43% of the distance strikes that he lands, and he's finished all 4 of his UFC wins by way of knockout. He dismantled Josh Fremd over 2 yards or over 2 rounds, breaking his nose with a spinning elbow at the end of the first and finishing him with a body shot late in the second. He punted Ribeiro's head into the cheap seats with a perfectly set up head kick where he feinted a jab, got Ribeiro to throw a check left hook, and then he threw the head kick as a counter, which landed flush and finished the night. He landed a massive body kick on Punahele Soriano late in the second when Puna was completely gassed. That set up the standing TKO finish. And he dropped Alessio Di Chirico and finished him in the 3rd round with a beautiful flurry of hooks. Roman has shown beautiful takedown defense thus far in the UFC. He's stopped 23 of 25 takedown attempts against, and he's been controlled by his opponents for less than 14% of his total cage time. Roman uses his wrestling in reverse to keep fights standing, where he uses that combination of speed, precision, and power to dismantle his opponents from range. What a phenomenal high-level fight this is. The suffocating pace, pressure and grappling game of Fluffy Hernandez against the precision kickboxing and top-notch takedown defense of Kopylov. Both guys are on 4-fight win streaks, and both guys look to have what it takes to get into the top 10 of the division. But whoever wins this fight takes a big step forward in the UFC's middleweight division. So the stakes are high for this fight. On the Hernandez side, we love the youth, the strength of schedule advantages, the suffocating pressure, the conditioning, the durability, and the combination of wrestling and Brazilian jiu-jitsu that he uses to drown his opponents in the later rounds. But if anyone has the tools to deal with that type of attack, it's a precision striker like Kopylov with real power in his hands and kicks and 92% takedown defense. Kopylov has been training at elevation in Dagestan against top-notch wrestlers to improve the weaknesses in his game, and he looks in top form lately due to the changes he's made to his training routine. These guys were supposed to fight late last year, but Fluffy pulled out with an injury, and Josh Friend took his place to fight Roman. So even though Roman is taking this fight on about 3 weeks' notice, he's already prepared for Fluffy before, so I think he's going to be ready for this matchup. But I have to lean with Hernandez here. I don't think Roman gets the fight that he wants. Anthony might not have early success getting Roman to the ground, but he will be relentless trying to get the fight to the mat. And his conditioning to push that pace for the full 15 minutes is something we haven't seen Roman deal with yet. He did a great job of stopping the takedowns of Duraev, but when it finally got to the ground, we saw how helpless Roman was there. And unlike Duraev, Fluffy doesn't get tired or slow down. I'm going to pick Anthony Hernandez to do what he does best. Pressure his opponent, make them wrestle, drag them into deep water, tire them out, and then drown them. Fluffy by third round submission is going to be the pick for this fight. So we're going Anthony Fluffy Hernandez to win this fight by submission in round number 3. Let's see what you guys are saying in the chat. Fireside is saying, with the way this line is headed, going to be forced to take the Kopylov KO. Yeah, dude, the line is moving. Like, Hernandez was just like minus 155 a couple of weeks ago. Now he's like he's minus 244 on Bet Online. So a lot of money coming in on the Fluffy money line here. Frank Vituli saying Kopylov is dangerous, but Fluffy is going to take him down more times than a hooker's panties. And yeah, that could absolutely happen. The way that this guy chain wrestles and refuses to fuck off, he can absolutely drown Kopylov in the takedown attempts. Sammy saying Anthony is friends with Max Griffin. They train together. I like Anthony for the ground game. Give me Anthony sub for this. Yes, sir. Kopylov does train in Dagestan. Yes, sir, in Makachkala. More for tricks saying Kopylov is atrocious on the ground. If Hernandez gets a takedown in the first round, the fight is over. He'll either sub him or just weaponize his cardio to a unanimous decision. Yeah, when you do get Roman's back to the mat, it looks bad, but it's very hard to get him down. Blunt Magic likes Fluffy here. We got Morphatrix saying this fight is Vera Petrosian 2.0. It's a similar type of matchup, very similar. Petrosian is Kopylov and Vieira is Hernandez. But Hernandez is Vieira with cardio. Will Kopylov's recent Dagestani training pay off? I highly doubt it. Fluffy will grind his soul out. Yeah, we're going to find out, man. We're going to find out because Fluffy's relentless. This line has gotten out of control. At these odds, it's Roman or pass. And yeah, I mean, I'm picking Hernandez, but this line is getting out of control. K-Dog saying, I agree, Weezy. This should be a great way to open the main card without a doubt. Yeah, the whole main card is awesome. Late Fluffy KO props, they're wide, plus 1,800 for round 3. I don't mind that. And alimony makes Dern dangerous. Yes, that'll make any person dangerous. 86 of you guys hanging out live in here with your Uncle Weezy. I appreciate you guys. Hit that thumbs up if you haven't already. Please leave me a comment down below. Let me know what you're thinking about these fights. Let me know if there are any bets that you're lining up. Let me know if you want my opinion on anything. And hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. And please consider joining the Patreon, where you get access to stats like the prop template, like the advanced stats matchups, so that you can do all the necessary research to make yourself a better gambler by having all the necessary information at your fingertips. Supporting me on my Patreon is the best way to make sure that I keep coming here and showing up on YouTube for essentially free. essentially free, I say, if it weren't for guys like Kiwi and Go Flamingo with the generous $20 donations today. I really appreciate both of you guys. Shout out to both of you guys and big up both of you guys. All right. Next fight that we're going to talk about, another banger, another absolute banger. Merab Dvalishvili going up against Hendry Cejudo here. We got Merab is a favorite, a big favorite at that, at minus 224. And we got the comeback on Hendry Cejudo Triple C plus 189. Fight doesn't go to decision here, sitting at plus 215 for this fight. So let's get these stats up, and let's first start talking about the advantages that Merab Dvalishvili has. We got nice measurables advantages here from Merab. As he's 4 years younger than Triple C, he's going to be 2 inches taller, and he's got a 4-inch reach advantage. And Merab has the overall experience advantage with one more pro fight and 60 less minutes of cage time in 1 year he's got 60 more minutes of cage time in 1 year less as a pro. Let me just fix this real quick here, you guys. Bear with me. All right. So Merab has been slightly busier as a pro as well as lately, as Triple C has only fought twice since the year 2020, while for Merab it's been 7 times since the year 2020. And we just discussed pace as a weapon when we talked about Anthony Hernandez. Merab has an absolutely terrifying pace of offensive output. He attempts 14.95 distance strikes per minute. That's 3.25 more than the divisional average. And he lands 4.91, which is 0.31 more than the divisional average. He's attempting 18 takedowns per 15 minutes. That's almost 14 more than the divisional average. And he gets 6.55 of those takedown attempts, which is 5.04 more than the divisional average. He outcontrols his opponents 40% to 5%, winning over 88% of the control time positions in his fights. And he's landed 74 UFC takedowns while only yielding 4. This guy's level of conditioning is unheard of, and he uses it as a weapon. And Merab's striking is very effective because he constantly is pressuring on the feet. He puts his opponent on his back foot, out volumes them while using his strikes to set up his entries on his takedowns. He's not powerful or flashy, but he knows who he is as a fighter, and he uses his striking perfectly along with his pressure to set up what he does best, his suffocating wrestling offense. Merab has a positive 1.51 distance striking differential and a positive 6.08 distance strike attempt differential. The pressure and the volume work perfectly together and set up the entries on his takedowns. And there will be plenty of takedown attempts when you face Merab. 204 UFC takedown attempts in just under 170 minutes of octagon time. 18.06 takedown attempts per 15 minutes, almost 14 more than the divisional average, and he's getting 6.5 of them, over 40% control time for, and winning over 88% of the control time positions in his fights. I mean, Henry is an Olympic gold medal winning wrestler, so seeing how Merab's volume approach works against a wrestler of Henry's quality will be very interesting to see. Now, Hendry Cejudo has been the better finisher as a pro. He's finished 8 of his 16 pro wins, all by knockout, while Merab only has a 25% finish rate in 16 pro wins. Merab has 1 UFC finish in 9 wins, and it was against Moraes, who almost finished Merab in the first, then predictably gassed out and got finished himself in the second. Hendry has 4 UFC wins by KO in his 10 wins at the UFC level, so I'd say the guy much more likely to win moments in this matchup is going to be Hendry. Now, he's got a tricky striking style to deal with. He has a traditional martial arts stance, bladed, head behind his hips and high. He's low volume, and he looks to counter when his opponents come into range. Hendry's always been at a height and reach disadvantage in his fights, so he adopted that karate kick-heavy style to help him close range and counter when his opponents try to blast into range past his kicks. It's worked very well from him. He's got a negative 0.16 distance striking differential against the best fighters at 125 and 135. He's low volume at only 8.55 distance strike attempts per minute, and he attempts about 1.5 less strikes per minute than his opponents do, but he's accurate at 40%, and his defense is above average at 64%. Cejudo's power numbers are impressive. He's landing 5 knockdowns in 13 UFC fights, and that lands a knockdown on 1.15% of the distance strikes that he lands, and he's 4 wins and 1 loss to the KO in his UFC career, with the only finish loss coming to the flyweight GOAT, Demetrius Johnson. Obviously, Hendry is known for his wrestling. He's an Olympic gold medalist in freestyle wrestling, and he won that gold medal back in 2008 when he was only 21 years old. Hendry's UFC grappling metrics are impressive. He's getting 2.07 takedowns per 15 minutes on 6.05 attempts, both above average for the division. He defends takedowns at an 83% rate, and he gets controlled by his opponent's 3.6% of his octagon time, so he's very difficult to take down and hold down. Only 26% of Hendry's octagon time is spent in control time positions, so it's clear that Hendry is able to win minutes with his wrestling and top control, but he doesn't depend on doing that in order to win fights. Hendry wins over 86% of the control time positions in his fights, while attempting 70% of the total takedowns and getting 83% of the total takedowns, so his efficiency rating is above average in the grappling realm as well. Merab really depends on being able to win minutes with his grappling game, but that's going to be a tall order against a high-level wrestler and efficient minute winner in the grappling exchanges like Hendry Cejudo. And Hendry's UFC strength of schedule metrics are a lot better than Merab's. Overall and in his wins, he's got the better ratio overall, 2.07 for Hendry here, so compared to only 1.3 for Merab. And in his wins, a 1.64 win-to-loss ratio of his opponents, 77 and 47, compared to 1.27, 52 and 41 for Merab Dvalishvili's opponents. So, let's see. Yeah, so he's fighting the more experienced and the guys with the better win-loss ratio overall compared to Merab is Hendry Cejudo. So what a fantastic high-level fight this is. The terrifying pace, pressure, and output of Merab against the high-level wrestling and power striking of Triple C. This is a 3-round fight. Merab is on an 11-month layoff, and Hendry is on a 9-month layoff. So both guys haven't fought in a while. Merab had to take time off because of an injury, and Hendry's 37 now, and he's just not fighting as often as he used to. I love the youth, the pace, the pressure, the volume, and the relentless grappling of Merab. And on the Cejudo side, I like the power, precision, and elite wrestling pedigree. This is a fascinating matchup to me because I don't see Merab having success with the volume wrestling approach he takes. I could see Hendry stopping or reversing his takedowns and being more efficient with his attempts and winning the control time battle here. Cejudo has an above-average grappling efficiency rating, and Merab's is a little below average. On the feet, I love the distance striking volume differential of Merab as he's throwing 14.95 attempts per minute, and his opponents are only throwing 8.55. But the power, which is 1.15% distance knockdown percentage for Hendry compared to 0.22 for Merab, is heavily in favor of Cejudo, and Merab's reckless, pressure-forward style is going to open himself up to Hendry's counter-striking and counter-wrestling. I think Hendry has a better chance to win the minutes in the grappling exchanges here, and I believe he can win the moments at range by landing big counters. I'm taking the Hendry Cejudo money line for 1 unit at plus 189 and trusting his high-level wrestling pedigree, his power and precision on the feet, and his strength of schedule advantage here, and I'm picking him to win this fight by decision. So we are going to pick Hendry Triple C Cejudo to win this fight by decision over Merab the Machine Dvalishvili. Get out your pitchforks and torches. Let's see what you guys have to say to me here. Let's see. Sprinkling split decision at plus 300. This will be a close fight, and I think that's the previous fight. JP max bet Merab last night at minus 196. Most confidence in a pick this year. Good luck to you. I can see Cejudo have a path to victory, though, throughout wrestling Merab and laying on top. Will it be easy? Hell no. But a path is a path. I'm just staying away from this one. Hear ya. Sammy's saying, I feel Hendry by TKO. That would be wild if he wound up finishing Merab. JP Taylor saying Henry will be at a pace and speed disadvantage, the likes of which he's never seen. That's true. Sammy Malcolm, what's Merab's most common way of losing? I can see a decision, Henry just for the judges, and he's star power. Yeah, it's decision really from Merab. Morphatrix saying Merab's jab is actually just a takedown attempt. Cejudo could have some solid game plan here with his wrestling skill set based on watching the Peter fight. I agree, man. He barely even got Peter down. He couldn't hold Peter down at all. And if he attempts that many takedowns against Hendry, Hendry's going to counter grapple him and put him on his ass. So I think that there's a very good chance that Merab is not going to really be able to wrestle in this fight. And what does Merab Dvalishvili look like if he's not attempting 20 takedowns over a 15-minute period? I don't really know, and we might have to find that out. Matt Chalk saying I would have picked Cejudo 4 years ago. I can see Cejudo maybe winning a round, but Marabu should outpace him. Yeah, but the thing is, if you look here on Bet Online at the plus 3.5 points handicap, they're telling you what the chances are of Henry winning a round here is. And Henry is minus 190 on the positive 3.5 points handicap, but he's plus 190 on the money line. So that doesn't make any sense. How is he going to win one round 66% of the time when he's only got a 33% chance to win the fight and Merab doesn't finish fights? So something's off there. They're telling you that they don't want you to be able to bet Cejudo plus 3.5. But the next best thing is just Cejudo's money line at plus 189. So that's why I took the shot. The judges scare the shit out of me. I think it's Henry's main way of winning. Screw job decision could be. No, it's only 3 rounds. Henry used to 5 rounds. No cardio, actually. Exactly. It's only a 3-round fight. Bob Spikerman's in the room saying, Weezy, what's up? At JP Taylor, we've seen those way too often, says Sammy. This would have been a good fight 4 years ago. It's hard to pick a 37-year-old guy in a 135-pound class. Yeah, but he just went 5 hard rounds with Aljamain Sterling, and a lot of people thought he won that fight, including me. I don't think Merab's as good as Sterling. Unc, how about the pressure pace parlay? Hernandez, Dvalishvili, and the old White is still all right. Whitaker and Volkanovski. I think they both hit, man. I think they probably both hit, but I'm taking my guy Henry Cejudo here on the money line. Merab is going to get clipped. Believe that. It's definitely a possibility with the way that he pressures. Merab's promo on socials for this fight have been absolutely hilarious. Yeah, he does great work on the socials. Judges are as crooked as Merab's nose. Kiwi saying, even though I love bet Merab, I think all the value is on Henry. Well, the line's moving a lot, so I jumped in at plus 189. Cejudo was just like plus 160 a couple days ago. Let's see. We got John Barker saying, got to be hard to get up under Henry's short ass. Yeah, and he's going to clip Merab. We've seen him rock before. Yes. We got Hank the Tank in the room saying, is that a Hendry Hill reference? Hey, how you doing, Hendry? It is absolutely a Hendry Hill reference. I call people named Hendry because of how Joe Pesci's character as a kid referred to Henry Hill in the movie Goodfellas. He said, hey, how you doing, Hendry? So I love calling people named Hendry. It's just one of the things in my vernacular that I choose to do. So Henry Cejudo is always Hendry Cejudo to me. I like Henry here, man. Not going to lie. Yeah, I'm with you, man. I'm taking the shot on him at plus money. I think he can out-wrestle Merab. Golden Octagon saying, oi, yes, I appreciate everything you do, Weezy. I got to get you on my show next pay-per-view. Dude, I think $299. I'm doing a couple of other... I'm doing Blood Money show for $299, maybe for $300, man. But I know that I do a lot of other people's shows. This is my second show today, so hit me up, man. Hit me up. And ring a ding ding, you guys. $5 donation from my guy, the Golden Octagon. Much appreciated, man. Thank you for the generous donation to the cause, to the show. All right, let's move on to this next one, which is going to be Geoff Neal at plus 200 going up against Ian Gary at minus 235. We got the fight doesn't go to decision here. Just a little bit juiced at minus 120. So this is going to be an interesting one. Southpaw versus Orthodox. Minute-winning striker in Ian Gary versus a moment-winning striker in Geoff Neal. Geoff Neal with the big power numbers. 7 knockdowns in 10 UFC fights. 9-1 to the knockout in his career, 4-0 to the knockout at the UFC level. Geoff Neal can be patient. He can absorb more than he lands. He can stop takedowns. But really what Geoff is trying to do is keep fights standing and land that big left hand. And if he does that, he can have you on Queer Street in no time and really change the trajectory of a fight that might not have been going his way up until that point. Geoff Neal's an elite striker. He is. And so is Ian Gary. Ian Gary's got unusual size for the division at 6'3" with a 74-inch reach. But Geoff Neal actually has a 75-inch reach. He's a southpaw. And while he's going to be 4 inches shorter than Ian Gary, he does a great job of distance management and finding his way into the pocket to land that big left hand. And we've seen Ian Gary showing this 55% distance striking defense is very concerning against somebody that hits as hard as Geoff Neal. This fight's a distance striking match, you guys. And if you can accurately predict how a distance striking match is going to go, that's how you should handicap this fight. Ian Gary has only attempted 4 takedowns in 6 UFC fights. He's gotten 3 of them, but he's only getting 7.16% control time. So this guy is not trying to get takedowns and use those takedowns to get top control, ground and pound, win minutes, and bank rounds. He wins minutes and banks rounds at distance striking range using his offensive output, managing distance, throwing those straight punches and kicks. He's really good at hitting his opponents and not getting hit. And all you need to see is this number right here, 3.46 distance strike differential for Ian Gary, 7.48 distance strikes landed per minute, only 4.03 absorbed. So while he has been dropped once, while we have seen him eat some big shots and show below average distance striking defense, Ian Gary throws more volume than Geoff Neal. He lands more volume than Geoff Neal. He's more accurate at distance than Geoff Neal, but he's going to have to worry about getting clipped. And we've seen Ian Gary get clipped. I think the Geoff Neal finish only prop is a pretty good look for this fight because Ian Gary is definitely somebody who does not put his foot on the gas to finish fights. He's only got a 62% finish rate as a pro, and he's undefeated. So this is a guy who is happy to just win minutes. I mean, he didn't even finish Darian Weeks. He didn't finish Gabriel Green. He beat 7 shades of shit out of Neil Magny and showed no finishing urgency at all in that fight. But the thing is, he doesn't really have to show that finishing urgency because he's so good at winning minutes at distance that he can just continue to win minutes as long as the fight is scheduled for. Whether it's 15, whether it's 25, Ian has got the distance management, the conditioning, the output, and the accuracy to win minutes at distance, bank those rounds, and win decisions. And it's a lot less risky to fight that style of fight when you're going to be going up and against an opponent like Geoff Neal. The southpaw strikers that we've seen Ian Gary have some trouble with in the past that do land big. And like Jordan Williams landed some big shots on Gary in the first round before Gary slept him right at the end of the round. But Geoff Neal isn't going to be running in like Williams was irresponsibly at the end of that first round. Geoff Neal has got pretty good striking defense at 60%. He absorbs 6.24 distance strikes per minute, but he's only been dropped once in 10 UFC fights, and that's with 7 knockdowns of his own. So a 7-to-1 knockdown ratio in his favor. So Ian's going to have to be careful here, and I think most of Ian's win condition here is going to be decision. So I am going to pick Ian Gary to win this fight by decision. I think that the minute winning, the distance management, the output, is going to be too much for Neal. And I think outside of Neal landing that big left hand, getting Geoff Neal on Queer Street maybe at 2 different times in 2 different rounds during the fight or finding that knockdown is his best path to victory here. But I'm going to pick Ian Gary to do what he's been doing at the UFC level so far, and that's win fights and win them by decision. So we're going to go with Ian Gary to win this fight by decision. Let's see what you guys are saying in the chat. We've got Ian Machado Gary saying, whoa, it's Ian Machado Gary. Come on, Unc. I thought we covered this already. By the way, Viva la Brasil. No, you can call yourself Ian Machado Gary, Ian. You can call yourself whatever you want to. I don't have the power to tell you what to call yourself, and it's none of my business. But I'm going to keep calling you Ian Gary because that's your given name. And by the way, you're Irish. That's never going to change. You can say whatever you want. You can put whatever flag you want next to your name. You're Irish, and you should be proud of that. You got a great heritage. Irish people are phenomenal, as are the Brazilian people. But the Brazilian people are going to be like, you're not from Brazil, and you're not. So, Ian Gary, welcome to Ireland. That's the country you live in, my man. We got Sheesh, I love you, Lou. And we got Ian Machado Gary saying, who? We got Real Fight Book saying, all of that wrestling probably has Hendry shop worn. He won that medal when he was 21. Yes, sir, he did. Yeah, but he's not shop worn. He just went 5 hard rounds with Aljamain Sterling. Aljamain Sterling attempted 12 takedowns, and Hendry only attempted 5. Yet Hendry outcontrolled him 5 minutes to 4 minutes. So I think Hendry can win, like he won the control time battle against Aljo Sterling. I think he can also win the control time battle on the ground against Merab Dvalishvili. We got hard to bet on someone having an identity crisis. Yeah, that's true. I think Gary wins, but I don't like it. Yeah, I mean, I think he wins. He's a phenomenal striker. He really is. Not meow, says Kiwi Brew. We got more of a trick saying, I genuinely think Ian didn't want to finish Magny because he was being an asshole and wanted to embarrass him once he knew he had to fight in his control. And that's what I was just saying. When you're just clowning on your opponent, you don't have to go out of your way to take those unnecessary chances to finish fights. And Ian's not doing that, and that shows some pretty good maturity and fight IQ at the tender age that he's at. Gogo saying Geoff Neal is better than his last 5 fights suggest. He was putting it on Rakhmonov, had him rock before he got caught. Yeah, Shavkat Rakhmonov is incredible, and he looked great against Rakhmonov. I had some bets on him there. Was looking for an upset. Didn't come, though. Geoff Neal, inside the distance, decision, no action, -110. I like it, Jeff. I might be right there with you on that bet. The diabetic asthmatic had him on skates. Let's never forget, Jordan Williams did have him on skates for a minute and early in that first round. Geoff Neal, decision, no action, was +123 on Bet Rivers earlier. That is gone now. Ian Gary saying, I'm going to go against 2-0 against men named Neal. And that's a spoiler. Oh, no. Have you beaten another man named Neal? Where did I miss that? Neil Magny? But isn't this? No, see, Neil Magny. And now it's Geoff Neal, Neal. So it's pronounced the same, but you're 1-0 if you beat Geoff Neal, Neal, against guys named Neal, Neal, and you're 1-0 against guys named Neil. Ian Machado Gary, you spell Ireland Ireland, not Brasil. Okay? The spelling. The striking's great, Ian. The spelling needs work. The identity crisis needs work. The taking on your wife's last name in your name, that needs work. But the striking and the distance management and the cardio is all phenomenal. Frank Vituli saying Gary's lied too wide. Neal is the value here. He's the plus money side. I'm going to wear yellow Venom kits, he says. There you go. Put that yellow Brazilian flag. He's going to be resplendent in the colors of his home country, Brazil. Sammy Malcolm saying, that is actually Gary. I'm dying. Yeah, I think Ian Gary has actually got better things to do than hang out in my chat. I want to ask McGregor when he's on that sweet nectar what he thinks of the Irish Brazilian. That would be funny. A+, Ian Gary is related to Aldo. I don't know about that. Only bet the plus. Saying I think Neal can win the moments, especially if he flashes Gary. Yes, I believe that too, and only bet the plus. I think he could be the better minute winner. We got Sammy saying Magny beat Geoff. Gary beat Magny. Gary beats Geoff. That could be, man. Makes you wonder how bad is Mike Malott. Oh, Mike Malott just tried to prove a point that he could win a 15-minute decision, that he wasn't just a pure finisher. And that lack of urgency early in the fight cost him against a veteran in Neil Magny who has good third rounds against a lot of people. But he didn't have a good third round against Ian Gary. And Ian Gary says, touche, Uncle Weezy. And you misspelled Weezy. Ian, come on, nephew. What are you doing? JP saying Ian the Cup Gary has a ring to it. I fell asleep waiting for the show. Show starts out. Welcome, J-Bone. Good to have you here, brother. We got Remdog saying, I think this guy's a fake. He would have said, oi, I'm going to wear a yellow Venom kit. Yes, he would have said oi. Yeah, oim. Kiwi thinks it's his wife's ex-husband's name. Only bet the plus they need to lay off Gary. Cucking isn't a crime. A lot of great men are cuts. Kill Cliff is better than Shootbox. Gary should have stayed at Kill Cliff. Yeah, but I think he kind of got kicked out of there, didn't he, Tristan? I'm not sure exactly what happened, but I know that Ian has kind of pissed off some people at a couple of different gyms, and he's either left or been asked to leave. But it's a lot of gym drama there. We got Kiwi Brew saying, sure, J-Bone. We got misspelling another word, S-O-R-R-Y, but you got the Weezy right this time, so we appreciate that. And then we got Cuban Assassin saying, Gary beats Neil. Miss Machado meets Guy. Gary beats off. Oh, dear God, no. That could be bad for Ian's marriage. Did you see that meme? Was it cuck on a truck or captor on a raptor? I did not see it, guys. And best of luck on your bets, everyone. Best of luck to you, whoever you are, because I know you're not Ian Gary. Ian Gary's got better things to do than hang out on my show. But yeah, best of luck on your bets and whatever it is that you do, my man. Thank you for hanging out with us here. Okay, let's move on to the next fight. It's Robert the Reaper Whitaker at minus 273. And he is going to be fighting somebody that's to be announced after what's his name drops out of this fight. So it's Robert Whitaker versus TBA here. The TBA is at plus 233. The fight doesn't go to decision. Is at plus 105. One of my New Year's resolutions this year was to be better to myself and to not piss away time doing tasks that don't achieve anything. So I did not watch fight or I did not watch tape on either of these guys because it's Paulo Costa. And I think there's probably maybe a 10% chance that he actually shows up and fights. Guy's not a fighter anymore. His last fight was against Luke Rockhold. And I think the only reason he even showed up for that fight is because Luke was completely washed. Showed up 20 pounds heavy for the Vettori fight, thinking that Vettori wouldn't accept it, but Vettori did accept the fight, and he lost that one. Got smoked in the first round by Israel Adesanya. The last time we've seen this guy do anything of any significance, he beat a 40-plus-year-old Yoel Romero by unanimous decision. So I don't think this fight takes place. I don't think Paulo Costa shows up. I don't even think he's a professional fighter anymore. So I didn't tape it. I don't care. I'm picking Robert Whitaker to win because one of the guys is either not going to show up or show up for a check. But my money is going nowhere near this fight. We'll just pick Robert Whitaker to win by second round knockout. And then we can get to a fight that's actually going to happen and is actually compelling here. And that is the main event of the evening. It is going to be Alexander the Great Volkanovski at minus 131 going up against Ilya the Matador Topuria at plus 111. Fight doesn't go to decision here, sitting at minus 165 for this fight. So let's get these stats. And let's first start talking about Alexander the Great Volkanovski, as he's going to have a 2-inch reach advantage over Ilya Topuria. Volk has the overall and UFC experience advantages with 15 more pro fights, 280 more minutes in the pro cage. And Volk also has 9 more fights at the UFC level and 3 more hours of octagon time than his opponent, Ilya Topuria. And Volk is the featherweight greatest of all time. He's 13-0 as a featherweight in the UFC. Volk wins minutes wherever the fight goes, and he can finish you if you aren't an elite fighter. Striking, elite. Wrestling, top-notch. Conditioning, elite. Durability, elite. Heart as big as a truck, and he's never lost in the UFC at his natural weight class. Nobody walks through Alexander Volkanovski at 145 on a full camp. Nobody. Now, Alex has fantastic striking. Despite the fact he's small for the division, Alex has elite efficiency numbers at distance. He's got a positive 2.19 distance striking differential against elite competition, way above average 53.5% accuracy, above average 61% defense. He's landed 6 knockdowns in 15 UFC fights with a 0.54% knockdown percentage, and he's finished 5 of his 13 wins via KO in the UFC. Volk is a master minute winner at distance. He's only been outstruck once in 15 UFC fights, and that was his short notice up a weight class fight versus Makhachev in Abu Dhabi, fresh off of elbow surgery when he hadn't been training on less than 9 days' notice. Volk is a master of distance management with his kicks, and it helps him set up everything else that he does. Alex has a fast and accurate jab, and his low leg kicks interrupt his opponent's ability to jab him. Alex's speed, countering ability, and ability to switch up his game plan mid-fight makes the looks he gives you too diverse to deal with at times. And Volk has beautiful grappling metrics at the UFC level over a massive sample size. Volk's getting 1.84 takedowns per 15 minutes on 4.85 attempts. He's got average 38% accuracy and above average 70% takedown defense. He outcontrols his opponents 23% to 5.6%, winning over 80% of the control time positions in his fights. We've most recently seen him mix in the wrestling against the Korean Zombie and Yair Rodriguez, as he went 11 of 20 on his takedown attempts in those fights, racking up over 10 combined minutes of control time. So it's clear that Volk always has the ability to win minutes with his wrestling, top control, and excellent ground and pound when the situation and matchup calls for him to do so. And Volk has the better strength to schedule ratio overall. 2.32 for Volk compared to 1.78 for Elliott Topuria. And in his wins, we've got a 1.97 win to loss ratio for Volk's opponents, 132 and 67 combined record, while it's an 1.78 ratio for Topuria, 32 and 18 combined record of his opponents. And he's fought and beaten the more experienced brand of UFC competition as well. Now, Topuria is 8 years younger than Alexander Volkanovski, and that's a statistically significant metric right there. Ilya also has the better finish rate as a pro, as he's got an 86% finish rate compared to 62% for Volkanovski. And his finish rate in the UFC is also superior. Topuria 67% finish rate in his wins, Volk 38% finish rate in his wins. Ilya has excellent boxing. He keeps his hands high. He's got elite 68% distance striking defense, a positive 0.57 distance striking differential, and he's got excellent power numbers at 1.98% distance knockdown percentage, and he's got 4 knockdowns in 6 UFC fights, and 3 of his 6 UFC wins come by way of knockout. Ilya will be at a 2-inch reach disadvantage here, but the power differential is definitely in his favor. Ilya is fast, accurate, and powerful, and the way that he digs to the body to set up his hooks to the head is really nasty. It's going to be really interesting to see who wins the minutes and piles up more damage at range, because both of these guys are top-notch strikers. And Ilya's grappling metrics are just as good as his striking metrics. He's getting 2.19 takedowns per 15 minutes on 3.89 attempts. He's displayed 93% takedown defense on 14 attempts against, and he outcontrols his opponents 27.5% to 7.5%, winning over 78% of the control time positions in his fights. In addition to all of that, Ilya is very dangerous and opportunistic submission grappler. He's 8 wins and 0 losses to the submission in his pro career. And when you watch his early career on the regional scene, you see him as more of a pure grappler and a very dangerous one at that. His striking has really come along to the level, let me see. Yeah, his striking hasn't really come along to the level of his grappling until very recently. Ilya has been a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt since the year 2018, and his ability to win minutes and moments in the grappling exchanges make him a very well-rounded and dangerous opponent to deal with. So is the 35 and over curse in effect here? Volk just turned 35 late last year, and champions of that age or older have a miserable record in title fights, and he's facing off against a red-hot Elliott Topuria who's 14-0 as a pro and has the confidence of an undefeated fighter. Ilya is coming off back-to-back wins over top 10 opponents in Bryce Mitchell and Josh Emmett, and now he's getting a title shot against the 145-pound GOAT after only 6 UFC wins. On the Volk side, you like the 2-inch reach advantage, the overall and UFC experience advantages, the minute-winning skills in both the distance striking and in the grappling exchanges, and the massive strength of schedule and 5-round experience advantages that he has. Volk is still undefeated in the UFC at 145, and his only losses at this level are to Islam Makhachev, who I think would also kill Ilya Topuria. The recency bias here is something that can potentially be taken advantage of. Is Volk washed because he took a fight on less than 2 weeks' notice, a couple of months after serious elbow surgery, up a weight class in Abu Dhabi against Islam Makhachev and got knocked out by a head kick? Or is that performance something that should be viewed through the lens of the extenuating circumstances that surrounded the matchup? I think yes. And if that fight was relatively meaningless to Volk's career due to all those reasons, then is this line where it should be? Should Volk be minus 130 against the guy whose best win is against a 38-year-old Josh Emmett? Or can we all agree that Volk on a full camp beats 7 shades of shit out of Josh Emmett just like Topuria did? Which one of these guys is more likely to win minutes in the grappling exchanges? Which one is more suited to winning minutes at range? I think Volk has too many advantages to ignore here against the 27-year-old Topuria. I think Ilya is too heavy on his lead leg, and Volk will land lots of kicks to that leg. I also think Volk throws more, lands more, leans on that 5-round experience, winning minutes against the elite fighters in the division, adjusting his game plan to meet the weaknesses of his opponents. I'm picking Alexander Volkanovski to avoid the big shot, win minutes at distance, and by mixing in the wrestling and coming out the other side, and still the UFC featherweight champion and GOAT of the division, I'm picking Alexander the Great Volkanovski. He's not too old to win this fight by decision over Ilya El Matador Topuria. Let's see what you guys are saying in the chat here. We got JP saying this Ian Gary in chat is too nice to be the real Gary. I agree, man. Whitaker versus Cannonier 2 incoming potentially. Yeah, man. J Bone says what's up to Kiwi Brew. We got fight doesn't start round 1 minus 500 for the Coastal fight. I like it, man. I like it. More like Paulo Ghosta. I love it. The dude is ghosting his opponents. He doesn't show up on fight week. I wonder if he's in Vegas yet for this. That would be interesting, man. J-Ban, we on Hernandez round 3 this weekend? Nods. Yeah, I know I am. Not finishing Luke Rockhold is a bad look. I couldn't agree more. JP Taylor saying well, he said something later. Costa will only show up if Bobby Knuckles accepts a catch weight of 235, and he might have to. This fight is why we love the UFC. 100% to Frank, says Kiwi. J-Bone saying, I feel like a Kiwi Brew. Someone gets finished there. Yep. Topuria left Patty in the dust. What a weird rivalry that was. Yeah, he's moving on to bigger and better things. I mean, Topuria would beat 7 shades of shit out of Patty Pimblett. JP Taylor saying he's torn on the main event. I want to bet Volk, but I think this might be Topuria's time. Volk KO just over 100 days ago, and time is undefeated. Yes, it is. Gogo saying Emmett in reality lost to Ige and Kadar, making him 1-4 in his last 5. This is Topuria's best win. Yes. And it's a very fair point to make. My 2 favorite reliable featherweights facing off. Give me fight to go the distance. Split decision Volk win. Kiwi saying, Gogo Flamingo. Aussie. Oi, oi, oi. And we got Sammy saying, I will look at Volk on the scales, though. He was so out of shape last fight. Bad decision to jump on short notice. I'm sure he got paid, though. Yes. And Gogo saying Volk 4-5 decision. Oi, oi, oi. Let's go, man. We got Frank saying recency bias has gifted us a pick'em line for the featherweight GOAT. Ilya is outstanding, and yes, he is. But he may be getting a vet lesson on Saturday, and I agree with you. These stats are awesome, Weezy. High-level MMA look at all that green. Yeah, man, appreciate that. I not only list the stats for you on these sheets, but I also compare these stats and tell you how much more or less than the divisional average their stats are, so you can determine whether their pace is above average or below average in any of the meaningful categories that we have. Kiwi Brews asking if he's Gogo if he's in Sydney. Yeah, you can catch. I'd catch lunch with you guys if I was in Australia. That's for sure. Brave is saying Volkanovski is the man. No one like him. One of the greatest to ever do it. Absolutely. Maybe some of the evil genius on Twitter started the 35 curse talk the last couple of weeks to get the line moving so they could get better value on Volk. That's for sure. Frank saying, thanks, Weezy. Great stuff. You got it. Jake saying, I think Topuria wins. I think he's the real deal. Then we'll get a rematch in the summer. It's going to be a great fight. And Topuria is the real deal, whether he beats Volkanovski or not. That sounds good, but I'm in Adelaide. I do come over to Sydney a couple of times a year for business. If it lines up with a pay-per-view, we should grab some beers and feed for sure. You know, I've got family in Adelaide, Australia. I've never been to Australia, go Flamingo, but yeah, I do have some family down there in Adelaide. Show Joe in the room saying Topuria overcommits on his punches, loads up so much he leaves huge openings after missing, and Volk will capitalize. And Jake C saying, we'll see how Volk's chin holds up. Yeah, that's going to be a key thing here because Topuria hits hard. And John saying, if you watch Topuria fights, dude is very hittable and he makes mistake. Also doesn't throw many kicks. I feel like Volk wins more times than not. All right, you guys, we did it. We broke down all 12 fights on this card. We're 2 hours and 15 minutes in, so let's get this moving. Dog pick of the week, Uncle Weezy's ass shaving of the week, and then I'm going to share my tracked bets with you guys. So this week, the Bootsy Collins Memorial Dogs Are Barking pick of the week. We're looking to go on a 2-week winning streak here. Last week, we had the plus 115, plus 3.5 points handicap for Bruna Brasil, and she covered it by that much. She lost 29-28 on all three judges' scorecards, lost by 3 points. We were getting 3.5. Cover it, cash the plus 115. This week, we're looking for a bigger plus money number. And that bigger plus money number is going to be something that people don't necessarily, they're probably not going to want to jump on this with me. But I'm here. I'm there. I got one unit on that Henry Cejudo money line at plus 189. I think he's going to land the bigger shots on the feet, and I think he's going to out-wrestle Merab Dvalishvili. We've never seen Merab face a wrestler with the technical prowess of Hendry Cejudo. And so I think Henry's going to win those minutes in the grappling exchanges. I think he's going to get some takedowns of his own, win some minutes on the ground, and I think he has the potential to land the bigger shots on the feet as well. But I would not be surprised if Merab just out-volumed him at distance, didn't shoot the takedowns, and won this one at distance with his volume and pressure. But still, I can't pass up on that price. I think it's ridiculously cheap. And this week's Bootsy Collins Memorial Dogs Are Barking pick of the week is going to be the Hendry Cejudo money line at plus 189, which leaves us with the last order of business of the week, which is Uncle Weezy's ass shaving of the week. We're 1-2 this year. We lost on Mayra Bueno Silva. We lost on Thomas the Train Peterson, and we have won on Gregory Hobo Cop Rodriguez. We also picked Manel Cop to shave ass in week number 1 of the year. He didn't make weight. The fight was scrapped. So we are 1-2-1. And we're looking to make that 2-2-1. And I'm wondering who you guys think it should be this week. I'll give you a hint. It's not going to be a woman because it'll never, ever be a woman ever again in the history of this show. So throw out the 2 women's fights. And we got to throw out Nakamura because he's like minus 1250. You don't need me to tell you that dude is going to win. So that leaves us with 9 other fights, right? Leaves us with the main event. It leaves us with Whitaker Costa, which I didn't tape at all. So that leaves us down to 6 fights. Neal against Gary. Dvalishvili versus Cejudo. Hernandez Kopylov. Rogerio de Lima versus Tafa. Mingyang Zhang versus Brendson Ribeiro. Danny Barlow versus Josh Quinlan. And Val Woodburn versus Oban Elliott. So it's going to be one of these guys. And I am not particularly confident this week. I don't want to pick anyone to shave ass in the main event because I think both of those guys are incredible. I don't want to pick anyone to shave ass in Neal versus Gary because I think Gary wins it by decision and Neal needs a big shot or a knockout in order to win. I'm picking Cejudo to win, but I think that's going to be a very close fight. I like Hernandez. I think Hernandez can maybe be the ass shaving of the week if he doesn't get caught. I think it could be Rogerio de Lima. I think he's got more ways to win this fight. I think it could be Danny Barlow because he's got serious power, and I'm not sure if Josh Quinlan is a complete fraud now that he's off the sauce. And even if he isn't, he just doesn't even have that much more experience in comparison to Barlow. He's at a massive reach disadvantage here. And I don't know if we can count on Quinlan to win minutes in the grappling exchanges. So this is what I'm doing. Your Uncle Weezy's ass shaving of the week this week. And I need to type it in because I didn't even write it down. And we're going to make it something that I'm not comfortable doing, but I do think it's going to work out for us. And the price is right. And it's going to be Danny left-hand to God Barlow to shave the ass of Josh Quinlan. I just don't know what to expect from Quinlan going forward. Both of these guys are relatively inexperienced as professionals. Barlow's got that nice reach advantage, and he's without question the better striker, the more dangerous striker, the more precise striker, the more technical striker. And I love his kicks. I think his kicks are absolutely phenomenal. And for a guy like Quinlan who struggled to close the distance against Waters, if he gets reckless trying to close that distance against Barlow, I think he's going to walk onto something here. What we have to worry about is that Josh Quinlan is a guy who's got a ton of power in his own right, and he is a little bit more experienced at the UFC level. This will be his third UFC fight while it's a debut for Barlow. And we don't know if Barlow gets taken down, what he's going to look like on the map, because there's just not a lot of evidence of that on the regional scene. So while there are some holes that could potentially be exploited in the game of Danny left-hand to God Barlow, I do think that the striking advantage here, the reach advantage, the length advantage, and the power advantage on the feet is going to be too much to ignore. And I'm picking Danny Barlow to shave the ass of Josh Quinlan this week. Let's see what you guys are saying in here. Fireside said it was the guy fighting the Chinaman. I got a bet on the guy fighting the Chinaman here. I've got that 1 unit bet on Brendson Ribeiro at plus 124. We got Morphatrix saying, what do you mean exactly by ass shaving? It just means that somebody's going to win, and they're going to win violently. They're going to go out there and shave their opponent's ass. It's like kicking their ass, or it's like melting them, or it's like drowning them. It's a violent way, a dominant way of winning a fight. And that's what I mean by an ass shaving, Morphatrix. And we got definitely Giles for an ass shaving. He got shaved for sure. Let's see. Also, Volk blocks punches with that long ass reach. That's for sure. Remdog saying one of my favorite indicators a fight will go over the total is when it is lined this close. Tafa to Lima under 1.5. Volk Topuria over 3.5 plus 180. You like? Yeah, I don't mind that at all, dude. I think that's a pretty good look at plus 180. Good parlay. Ass shaving, haha. Last week was definitely Giles. We got JP with the ass shave there. Remdog liked Hernandez, and normally I would do that, but this line is getting a little bit wide, and there's definitely a path for Kopylov. We got Deli says only bet the plus. Come on down to Adelaide, Unc. I have a futon, a 70-inch TV, and a freezer full of lamb. Open invitation. Oh man, I can cook lamb. Go Flamingo. I'm a Greek. We know how to cook lamb. Volkanovski says Kiwi Brew. He says, damn, I'm wrong already. Thanks for the info, Unc. Always great work. Much appreciated. Hit the like, people, and leave a comment down below. Absolutely on all of that. Kiwi like Ribeiro, Marco Rogerio de Lima. And then we got the hardest working man in the biz. Thanks for the show, Unc. You guys, let me share my track bets with you, and then I will get out of here. So I've got a 1 unit bet on the Hendry Cejudo money line at plus 189. I've got a 1 unit bet on the Brendson Ribeiro money line against Mingyang Zhang at plus 124. And I've got a 1.5 unit bet on the Danny Barlow, Josh Quinlan under 1.5 rounds here at plus 145. There's also a 1-unit bet on the Mackenzie Dern decision-only prop at plus 200. That's my tracked action for this week so far, 4.5 units deep. I'll be adding more once all the props are out, and I wish you guys luck. Thank you so much for hanging out tonight and breaking down these fights with me. Hit that thumbs up and subscribe on your way out if you haven't already. Please leave me a comment down below, and please consider joining the Patreon so that you can get access to these phenomenal stats and metrics that I make available on my Patreon. Let's stack cash tickets like flapjacks for UFC 298, and I will see you guys tomorrow, 8 o'clock Central Time on Pub Sports Radio for the DFS show with Brady, Monk, and Gordo. And then right back here on Uncle Weezy's YouTube channel, 10 o'clock Central Time tomorrow night for Ask Weezy. I'll bring out my database of stats, all my templates, and you can ask me any questions that you have about any of these fighters, matchups, money lines, props, prize picks, underdog, so that we can all find ways to stack cash tickets like flapjacks and beat these bookies with a bag of oranges until we juice them. Good night, everybody. Have a great one, and we will see you tomorrow. Take it easy.